I checked my phone and noticed I had 13 missed calls, all from my mother-in-law, Martha. Not again. While thinking about this, my phone vibrated once more. I answered, "Hello." Martha sounded angry. "Excuse me. Wasn't the allowance for this month supposed to be $3,000? It's overdue? Excuse me. I told you to send the allowance. This month's payment hasn't been deposited yet." Martha ranted, ignoring my situation and only thinking about what she wanted. I was fed up with her. Even in this situation, she doesn't think about what she says and does, right? I have no choice but to go for my last option. I gathered my thoughts and told my phone, "Your son has passed away, so I can't send an allowance anymore. I'm Jennifer Smith, 32 years old, a busy woman working at a major financial firm and a housewife. I got married about 2 years ago to my beloved husband, Mark, whom I met through our shared hobbies. His kind nature and warm smile drew me in, and we quickly developed feelings for each other. After a year of dating, we got engaged, both convinced that we were the best for each other. We lived together without major quarrels and decided to marry. Everything was smooth until a problem arose. Martha, my mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away a few years ago, leaving Martha as Mark's only family. The trouble began when I first visited her before our wedding. "Nice to meet you." Martha clearly showed displeasure. "So, you're Mark's fiancé?" "Yes, I'm Jennifer Miller." "You're a rather plain girl. I wonder what Mark sees in you, huh?" I couldn't tell if she was joking or serious. Having such words from my loved one's mother shocked me. Observing my distress, Mark scowled at Martha. "Hey, Mom, what's with the sudden harsh words? How can you say such things about the person I chose?" "No, Mark, I'm just trying to pick a suitable woman for you." "Pick? I'm the one who chose her. You have no right to interfere. Don't say it in such a cold way. I'm just telling the truth because I care about you. If you were really thinking of me, you'd simply support us. Why can't you understand such a simple thing?" An argument unfolded between mother and son right before my eyes, making the air heavy. As it was my first meeting with Martha, I wasn't in a position to intervene. Despite the lingering awkwardness, we eventually conveyed our intent to marry. As we were leaving, Martha called out to Mark, sounding somewhat disgruntled. "Mark, can I have a word? You're going to keep that promise after you get married, right?" "What promise?" "You know about the allowance." "Ah, that. Yes, I'll be sure to take care of that. Can we not discuss it here, please?" "Well, I was just asking." The tension between my husband and his mother persisted, and discomfort hung thick in the air. In the car on the way home, I questioned Mark about the conversation he had with his mom as we were leaving. "Hey, Mark, about the talk you had with your mom." "Yeah, I should have told you about it, Jennifer. I heard something about an allowance. After my dad passed away, I've been sending money to my mom every month." "How much?" $2,000. "What? $2,000? I couldn't help but raise my voice in surprise. He sighed deeply and began to explain slowly. "Actually, my mom has a debt. She lost a lot of money at a casino a long time ago, and she's still paying it off. Her health isn't great these days, so she spends a lot of time at home. But she still needs money to live, right? But $2,000, isn't that a bit too much? If I try to lower the amount, she keeps calling me over and over. And no matter what, a mother is still a mother. I worry about her living alone." "I see. Mark is really devoted to his mother, but that makes sense. Since his father passed away, Martha has been the only family he has left. Regardless of her character, she's still his beloved mother. At that time, I only saw my husband as a kind person. 2 months after our wedding, during my lunch break one day, I got a call on my smartphone. The call was from Martha. When I answered with a hello, Martha began to speak cheerfully. "Jennifer, long time no see. Can we chat for a bit?" "Yes, what can I do for you?" "Well, I was hoping you could start sending me money." "Excuse me?" I was so taken aback, I couldn't find words to respond. However, Martha seemed excited to continue the conversation. "You mentioned before that you're working for a financial company, right?" That means you have a good salary, doesn't it? Well, not exactly. What, you're lying to avoid giving me money? That's not what I mean. Then what is it? But Martha, you're still receiving financial support from Mark, aren't you? To my question, Martha responded defiantly. So what? Jennifer sternly expressed her feelings. Martha, getting $2,000 monthly support is a big deal. And yet you're asking for more. Really? You think so? If you were to send me an additional $1,000, I could avoid burdening Mark. What do you mean by that? Well, I have Mark as a guarantor for my debts. If I fail to make payments, the debt collectors will go after him. Do you understand? But aren't you using part of Mark's $2,000 to pay back the debt? I'm short. I haven't told Mark, but I have a significant amount of debt. Martha's tone made it clear that this was a fact. Even her husband was unaware of it. With future plans of having children, our expenses were set to increase. On top of that, taking over Martha's debt wasn't an easy task. But if Martha's payments fell behind and the debt landed on Mark, the interest would likely accumulate significantly by then. If I refused to send money, it would eventually become a problem for my husband. It seemed better for Martha to clear her debt now. Reluctantly, I agreed to Martha's proposal. All right, I'll start sending you money. Really? Good God, Jennifer. I knew you would say that. The total, with Mark's contribution, will be $3,000. But this means you can pay off your debt, right? Yes, of course. I should be able to pay it all off in about a year. You promise, right? You'll make sure to pay off all your debts? I get it. So I'll be expecting it from this month onwards. Martha ended the call abruptly. The combination of physical exhaustion from work and this emotional burden only added to my stress. $1,000 a month, that's going to be rough, but it's also to prevent future problems for us. After all, if Martha can't make a living, it will upset Mark as well. That night, I promptly reported the matter to my husband. He told me I didn't have to do this, but I had already given my word to Martha, and it was a decision made for our future well-being. Mark expressed his gratitude and understanding, wearing a sorry expression throughout. Time passed, and 2 years have gone by. The financial support we initially thought would last a year is still ongoing, and even now, we're sending $3,000 every month to Martha. Moreover, about 2 months ago, Mark fell ill and hasn't been able to work. He's on sick leave, receiving disability benefits, but it's much less than his previous salary. Last month, I managed to transfer $3,000 to Martha from my savings, but if this situation continues, it will be very challenging. Shockingly, Martha has not visited her sick son even once. Despite informing her about his hospitalization, she doesn't show up and only contacts me to ask, "You're still sending the money, right?" I was furious and decided to talk to Mark about it. Mark, listen. Isn't it wrong that Martha is only concerned about money despite your condition? We need to seriously consider what to do moving forward. Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. I don't want to put more strain on you, Jennifer. This month, too, she's bombarding me with calls and messages, asking if we've sent the money yet. Can you believe it? How could she focus solely on money when her son is unwell? Mark expressed his frustration at his mother, his face showing signs of weariness. Then, with a sudden idea, Mark exclaimed, "I've got it," and flashed a sly grin. "What is it, Mark?" I inquired. "Well, this is our last option. I've thought of something unconventional." "Yeah, for my mom." "What?" Mark proposed a plan beyond my imagination. While it might be considered inappropriate, it appeared to be the only way to get Martha to comprehend. A few weeks later, Mark was discharged from the hospital. Since Martha hadn't responded to any of our messages, we didn't inform her about Mark's release. In the past 2 weeks, Martha had persistently demanded the money. While Mark and I were enjoying a cup of tea, a message popped up on my phone. Upon checking, I saw 13 missed calls from Martha again. As expected, my phone vibrated once more. It was another call from Martha. "Hello," I responded, activating the speaker microphone so that Mark could also listen. Martha immediately started shouting. Listen, where's the $3,000 for this month? Excuse me, that's right. The money for this month hasn't been transferred yet. Do you realize Mark is now? I began, but Martha cut me off, saying, I don't care if he's in the hospital or whatever. It's none of my business. You're working at a good place, right? You must have plenty of savings. Hurry up and transfer it here. Martha was yelling angrily. Eventually, she said something unbelievable. Listen, since you married Mark, if he can't pay, you have to pay me. Understand? If you refuse, I'll make you the guarantor. Got it? At that moment, something inside me snapped. She was openly expressing her demands without considering our situation at all. I had reached my breaking point with her. I had no choice but to resort to the last option. I firmly declared into my smartphone, Mark has passed away. I can't send you any more money. At these words, Martha blurted out a baffled what. This was the final step that my husband suggested, to lie to Martha about Mark's death and observe her reaction. If she showed any sign of sadness, reflected on her behavior, and apologized, we would continue to support her financially. But if she didn't reflect and demanded money, we would sever ties completely. Deep down, I believed that even someone like Martha would deeply reflect on her actions if she were told that her own son had died. But in the very next moment, Martha burst into loud laughter. Yay, what's so funny? I asked. Well, isn't it obvious? If Mark is dead, that means his inheritance will be distributed to me too. Excuse me. I've been looking into it since I heard that Mark was sick. Listen here, 2/3 of Mark's assets are yours, but 1/3 is mine. I was at a loss for words. I never thought that when she first heard that her son was sick, she wouldn't look into treatment, but into how the inheritance would be divided. My anger surpassed. I was simply dumbfounded. My husband seemed to feel the same way, and as our eyes met, he slowly nodded. This was the signal to continue with the plan. Once again, I spoke firmly to Martha. Martha, did you hear what I said? Mark is dead. I heard, and what about it? Aren't you sad your own son passed away before you? You just make sure to send me some. I won't let you get away with not doing it. With a click, the phone line was cut off, and a dial tone echoed. I glanced at my husband and saw that he was shaking, his face red with anger. Mark, are you okay? I asked. As I asked, my husband looked into my eyes and said, I'm cutting ties with her. She'll likely come here eventually, demanding money. Let's wait until then, okay? But are you really okay with this, cutting off ties just like that? I inquired. Yeah, I have no regrets. After that call, she's no mother. My husband's eyes were filled with hatred, and I felt the same way. A person who only thinks about money over her own son's life is not family to me. A few days later, as we expected, Martha came to our house. For the time being, I decided to hide my husband in the next room and deal with Martha myself. Then Martha approached me with a face like a demon. Hey, give me Mark's inheritance right now, she demanded. Again with that. Anything else to say? He's already dead, isn't he? It's pointless to say anything now. Yet you never even visited him. What are you saying? Are you really his mother? You're so annoying. Give me the inheritance right away. I don't mind getting a lawyer. Speaking more would be a waste of time. Just as I thought that, my husband emerged from the next room. Seeing him, Martha let out a startled gasp, as if she had seen a ghost. Mark, why weren't you dead? Long time no see, Mom. Sorry, but the news about my death was a lie. Lie? How could you be so disrespectful? I wanted to confirm your true nature, Mom. I was curious about how you'd handle the allowance if your son died. But you turned out to be a gold digger, just as I suspected. I got that perfectly. What? How dare you call your mother a gold digger? Silence. I'm cutting ties with a toxic parent like you. Martha's mouth was agape at my husband's angry shouts. She could not come to terms with the fact that her own son was severing ties with her. What? What does this mean, Mark? It means exactly what I said. I can't consider someone like you as my mother. No way. Then what about the allowance? Do you really think I would? You're on your own with the debts. We're moving. Wait, please. If you do that, what about my living expenses? With tears in her eyes, Martha reached out to my husband. He forcefully shook off her hand, looked at her coldly, and said, I don't care about your living expenses. You have been living off us without even a single apology. I really understand your despicable nature now. Don't you dare show up in front of us again. No, wait, Mark. Are you going to abandon your mother? Ignoring her words, my husband seized Martha's arm and guided her to the front door. He tossed her shoes and bag outside and escorted Martha out of the house. Martha created a commotion outside for a while but eventually disappeared, possibly unable to withstand the scrutiny of the neighbors. Despite her multiple attempts to contact us, we ignored all of them. Martha's number was set to be automatically rejected, and we completed our move. Regarding the issue of co-signing for the debts, it became invalid since Martha had made Mark the co-signer without his consent, absolving him of responsibility. Without the allowance from us, Martha seems to be leading a challenging life. It's only natural, given that she had been using the allowance for gambling instead of settling her debts. She still faces a substantial debt burden and is pursued by debt collectors daily. Unable to indulge in gambling anymore, she appears to be working tirelessly from dawn to dusk. It's unlikely that she will be able to fully clear her debts in the foreseeable future. She will have to keep working until she is physically unable to do so. This is entirely a consequence of her own actions. As for us, we are enjoying fulfilling days in our new home. My husband's health has stabilized, and he has returned to work. After some time, we discovered a new life growing in my belly. We are expecting an additional member in our family next year. Moving forward, we aim to cherish happy moments as a family of 3.
The email from my father landed like a bomb in my inbox, its words burning through the screen. You're making a mockery of our family name. Your actions are nothing short of betrayal. I stared at my phone, my hands trembling. My name is Morgan, and until last week, I was Morgan Fox. Now I'm Morgan Reynolds, my mother's maiden name, and my father can't handle it. The funny thing about betrayal is that it works both ways. I learned that lesson 3 days ago when I discovered the truth about my half-brother Leon's education. All those years when Dad told me he couldn't help with my college tuition, claiming financial hardship, he'd been secretly funding Leon's entire education at Stanford. Morgan, honey, Mom's voice carried from the kitchen. Your coffee's getting cold. I walked into our sun-filled kitchen, where Mom stood at the counter, her graying hair pulled back in a messy bun. She'd always made this house feel like home, even after Dad left us for his new family. He emailed me, I said, sliding onto a bar stool. He's furious about the name change. Mom's face softened. Of course he is. Cruz always did think everything was about him. You know what's ironic? I grabbed my coffee mug, warming my hands around it. He's calling me the traitor when he's the one who... My voice cracked. The doorbell rang, interrupting my brewing rant. Mom went to answer it, and I heard Maeve's familiar voice. My half-sister had become an unexpected ally in all this. Is it true? Maeve burst into the kitchen, her eyes wide. Dad's been losing it all morning, saying you changed your name? I nodded, pulling up the official documentation on my phone. Already done. The wedding invitations will say Morgan Reynolds. Oh my God! Maeve sank onto the stool next to me. I mean, I get it. Especially after what you found out about Leon, but Dad's going to explode at the wedding. Let him, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. Abraham supports my decision. He knows everything. Mom returned with a stack of old photo albums. I found these while cleaning yesterday. Look at this one, girls. She opened to a photo of me at my high school graduation. I remembered that day vividly. How Dad had pulled me aside afterward to explain, again, why he couldn't help with college. I'm stretched thin, Morgan, he'd said. You understand, right? I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school, I said, touching the photo. 3 jobs, while Leon was living it up at Stanford on Dad's dime. Maeve touched my arm. I had no idea, Morgan. Neither did Leon. He thought his mom was paying for everything. My phone buzzed again. Another email from Dad. Your mother put you up to this, didn't she? She's always tried to turn you against me. He's blaming you, I told Mom, showing her the message. Mom laughed, a sharp, bitter sound I'd never heard from her before. I never had to turn you against him, Cruz. You did that all on your own. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Abraham, my fiancé, arriving early for our lunch date. He took one look at my face and knew. What did he do now? Abraham asked, wrapping an arm around me. Just more emails. He's convinced Mom orchestrated this whole thing. Because heaven forbid his actions have consequences, Abraham said, making me smile despite everything. Maeve stood up, gathering her purse. I should go. Dad's probably wondering where I am. She hugged me tight. For what it's worth, I think you're brave. And Morgan Reynolds has a nice ring to it. After she left, I showed Abraham the photo albums. Look at this, I said, pointing to another graduation photo. See how proud he looked? All while knowing he was lying to my face about money. The wedding's in 3 weeks, Abraham said quietly. Are you sure you want to go through with the name change before then? We could wait. I shook my head. No. I want to walk down that aisle as Morgan Reynolds. I want everyone to know I'm my mother's daughter. Mom wiped away tears I hadn't noticed falling. Oh, honey. My phone buzzed one more time. Dad again. This discussion isn't over. We'll talk about this at the wedding. Yes, I said, deleting the email. Yes, we will. I looked at Mom, then at Abraham, feeling stronger with them beside me. The name change wasn't just about getting back at Dad anymore. It was about honoring the parent who'd actually been there for me, who'd supported my dreams, instead of just paying lip service to them. You know what? I said, closing the photo album. I think it's time to start planning that father-daughter dance. Or should I say mother-daughter dance? Mom's smile lit up the room, and I knew, whatever storm Dad was planning to bring to my wedding, I was ready for it. Morgan Reynolds was ready for it. I hadn't planned to confront Dad at his office, but after a week of angry emails and missed calls, I needed answers. The gleaming corporate building where he worked as CFO felt colder than I remembered. Miss Reynolds, his secretary corrected herself with an apologetic smile. Your father's in a meeting, but it's fine, Sandra. I'll wait. I sat in the reception area, watching executives in pressed suits hurry past. 20 minutes later, I heard his voice before I saw him, that familiar authoritative tone carrying down the hallway. Morgan? Dad stopped short when he saw me. What are you doing here? We need to talk. I stood up, keeping my voice steady. About Leon, about Stanford, about all of it. His face hardened. My office, now. Inside his corner office, with its wall of windows overlooking the city, Dad closed the door and turned to face me. This theatrical name change of yours needs to stop. Like you stopped helping me with college? The words burst out before I could stop them. While you were paying every cent of Leon's tuition? That's different. How? How is it different, Dad? Because he's your son and I'm just your daughter? Don't you dare play that card, he snapped. I gave you everything. You gave me excuses. I pulled out my phone, showing him the tuition receipts I'd found. 4 years at Stanford, full tuition, room and board. Meanwhile, I was working at a coffee shop at 5 a.m. before classes, waiting tables at night and delivering packages on weekends. Dad sat heavily in his leather chair. You don't understand the complicated... Then explain it to me. Explain why you lied every time I asked for help. Explain why you watched me struggle while secretly supporting Leon. Your mother, he started. Don't, my voice cracked. Don't you dare blame Mom for this. She remortgaged her house to help me with my last semester. She's the one who showed up to every graduation, every achievement, while you were building your new family. A knock at the door interrupted us. Sandra poked her head in. Mr. Fox, your 2 o'clock is here. Reschedule it, Dad said, not taking his eyes off me. After Sandra left, he leaned forward. Morgan, listen. Leon's situation was different. There were obligations. Obligations? I laughed bitterly. What about your obligations to me? I'm still your father. Are you? Because fathers don't do this, Dad. They don't play favorites with their children's futures. He stood up, pacing behind his desk. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You're too emotional, too much like your mother. Thank God for that, I cut him off. At least I know who I am. At least I'm honest about it. My phone buzzed. A text from Abraham. Everything okay? Remember, dinner with the florist at 6. Dad saw me checking my phone. This wedding, you're really going through with using your mother's name? Yes. And you know what? The more you fight it, the more certain I am that it's the right decision. You'll regret this, Morgan. This childish attempt at revenge. Revenge! I stood up, gathering my purse. This isn't about revenge, Dad. It's about honor. Mom's honor. Mine. The honor you forgot about somewhere between Stanford's tuition bills. As I reached for the door handle, a letter slid under the door. I picked it up. It was addressed to me, but the return address was unfamiliar. What's that? Dad asked, suddenly alert. Nothing that concerns you anymore. I tucked the letter into my purse, watching his face change. He knew something about it. I could tell by the way his jaw tightened. Morgan, wait. No, I'm done waiting. Done making excuses for you. Done pretending that what you did was okay. I opened the door. I'll see you at the wedding. That is, if you can bear to walk a Reynolds down the aisle. In the elevator, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely press the lobby button. Mom answered on the first ring. How did it go? About as well as expected, I said, fighting tears. But Mom, there's something else. A letter was slipped under his door for me. He reacted weird about it. Come home, she said firmly. We'll open it together. As I walked to my car, I touched the letter in my purse. Whatever it contained, Dad's reaction told me it was important. Maybe even important enough to explain why he'd chosen Leon over me all those years ago. But first, I needed my mother's strength. Because that's what Reynolds women did. We faced things head-on, together. And whatever was in that letter, I knew I'd need all the strength I could get. The coffee shop was quiet for a Saturday morning. I spotted Leon immediately. Tall like Dad, but with a gentleness in his features that Dad never had. He stood when he saw me, awkward and uncertain. Thanks for meeting me, he said as I sat down. The letter that had sparked this meeting lay between us on the table. I almost didn't, I admitted. But that letter, it changes things. I had no idea, Leon said, pushing his coffee cup around. About Stanford, about Dad paying. My mom always said it was her family's money. I pulled out the letter, now worn from repeated reading. Did you know about this? About our grandmother's inheritance? No. He shook his head. But it makes sense now. Why Dad was so insistent I go to Stanford. Why he paid for everything. He was trying to fulfill the conditions. The letter had revealed a twist neither of us expected. Our paternal grandmother had left a substantial inheritance, but with specific conditions. It would only go to the first grandchild who graduated from her alma mater, Stanford University. He manipulated everything, I said, my voice shaking. He made sure you got there, while actively preventing me from having the same chance. A barista brought my Americano, giving us a moment to collect ourselves. Morgan. Leon leaned forward. I would have never accepted his help if I'd known. You have to believe that. I do. And surprisingly, I meant it. But that's not even the worst part. Look at the last paragraph again. Leon picked up the letter, reading aloud. The inheritance shall pass to the first qualifying grandchild bearing the family name Reynolds, in honor of my beloved sister Margaret Reynolds, who sacrificed everything for my education. Reynolds, I repeated. My mother's maiden name. All this time Dad knew. He knew I had more right to that inheritance than anyone, and he deliberately kept me from it. But why would he? Because he couldn't stand the idea of Mom's family name being attached to his mother's money. The realization had hit me like a truck when I first read it. So he made sure you got to Stanford instead. Leon pushed his coffee aside, looking sick. I'll give it back. All of it. The money, the trust fund. It's not about the money anymore. I pulled out my phone, showing him the email Dad had sent that morning. Look what he wrote when I told him I knew about the inheritance. Leon read it aloud. You were never supposed to find out. Your mother's family doesn't deserve that legacy. I did what I had to do. He's still trying to justify it, I said. Still trying to control the narrative. The wedding, Leon said suddenly. That's why he's so upset about you changing your name. Because now I qualify for the inheritance anyway. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. By trying to spite him with Mom's name, I accidentally fulfilled grandmother's conditions. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed, and we both looked up to see Maeve walking in. She'd been texting me nonstop since I told her about the letter. Sorry I'm late, she said, pulling up a chair. Dad's been impossible all morning. He knows you two are meeting. How? I asked. He saw Leon's calendar when he stopped by the house. He's not taking it well. Leon rubbed his face. This is such a mess. Morgan, what can I do? Come to my wedding, I said. Both of you, stand with me, not him. Show him that his games didn't work. They didn't turn us against each other. Of course we'll be there, Maeve said immediately. Won't we, Leon? Leon nodded. Yes. And I'll do you one better. I'll announce at the reception that I'm transferring the inheritance to you. It's rightfully yours anyway. You don't have to. I want to. He reached across the table, taking my hand. Let me fix what Dad broke. My phone buzzed. Another email from Dad. Whatever they're telling you, don't believe them. Come home. We can sort this out as Foxes, not Reynolds. I showed the email to Leon and Maeve. He still doesn't get it, does he? No, Maeve said softly. He really doesn't. The wedding's in 2 weeks, I said, standing up. Dad's going to try something. I can feel it. Then we'll be ready, Leon said, standing with me. All of us, together. As I hugged them goodbye, I felt something shift inside me. The anger was still there, but it was different now. Cleaner, more purposeful. Dad had tried to pit us against each other, but he'd only succeeded in bringing us closer together. Walking to my car, I typed out a reply to Dad's email. You're right about one thing. We will sort this out, at the wedding. All of us, Reynolds and Foxes alike. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The time for hiding truths was over. In 2 weeks, everything would come to light, whether Dad was ready or not. The flowers look perfect, I said, adjusting a centerpiece on the sample table. The wedding venue's grand ballroom was coming together, each detail carefully chosen to honor both my past and future. Morgan! Maeve rushed in, still wearing her work clothes. You need to hear this. She pulled me away from the florist and into a quiet corner. I was at Dad's house picking up some old photos, and I overheard him on the phone. What did he say? He was talking to his lawyer. Something about making a statement at the ceremony and protecting the family legacy. Morgan, he's planning something big. My stomach dropped. Did you hear anything specific? No, but... Maeve was interrupted by Abraham's arrival. Hey, beautiful, he said, kissing my cheek before noticing our serious expressions. What's wrong? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Mom's ringtone. Hey, Mom, can I call you back? I'm at the venue with... Morgan, listen to me. Mom's voice was urgent. Your father just left my house. He came here demanding to see your grandmother's letter. What? Why would he? He said he's filing an injunction to stop the inheritance transfer. He's claiming Leon was coerced. Abraham wrapped an arm around me as I swayed slightly. That's ridiculous, I said. Leon made that decision himself. There's more, Mom continued. He threatened to read a prepared statement at the wedding, exposing what he calls my manipulation of the situation. Maeve, who could hear both sides of the conversation, grabbed my free hand. He can't do this. It's your wedding day. Watch me, a deep voice said from the ballroom entrance. Dad stood there, looking immaculate in his business suit, a manila envelope in his hand. "I'll call you back, Mom." I ended the call, squaring my shoulders. "What are you doing here?" "Delivering this." He held up the envelope. "A copy of my speech for your wedding. I thought you might want to reconsider your choices before I'm forced to read it." Abraham stepped forward. "You're not forcing anything at our wedding." "Stay out of this," Dad snapped. "This is family business." "I am family," Abraham said firmly. "Or I will be in 10 days, and I won't let you ruin this for Morgan." The florist awkwardly excused herself, leaving us alone in the ballroom. Dad tossed the envelope onto a nearby table. "Read it," he said. "Read how your mother poisoned you against me, how she manipulated this entire situation for money." "Mom didn't do anything," I exploded. "You did this, all of it. You lied about college, hid the inheritance conditions, and now you're trying to blame everyone but yourself." "I did what was best for this family." "No!" Maeve interrupted, surprising everyone. "You did what was best for your ego, Dad, and I won't stand with you if you do this." Dad's face reddened. "Maeve, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." She moved to stand beside me. "And if you go through with this, you'll lose all of us, not just Morgan." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." Leon's voice came from the doorway. He walked in, still in his hospital scrubs from work. "I got your message, Morgan. I came as soon as I could." Dad looked between his 3 children, his composure cracking slightly. "Leon, son, you can't seriously support this betrayal." "The only betrayal here is what you did to Morgan," Leon said quietly, "and I won't help you hurt her again." I picked up the envelope, holding it out to Dad. "Take your speech and go. You have 10 days to decide what's more important, your pride or your children." "Don't do this, Morgan. Don't throw away everything for some misguided revenge." "This isn't revenge," I said. "This is justice. For me, for Mom, for Grandmother's real wishes. Now please leave." Dad straightened his tie, his mask of control slipping back into place. "You'll regret this, all of you." After he left, I collapsed into a chair, shaking. Abraham knelt beside me, while Maeve and Leon pulled up chairs. "What do we do now?" Maeve asked. "We stick to the plan," I said, finding strength in their united support. "Mom walks me down the aisle. Leon makes his announcement at the reception. And if Dad tries anything, we'll handle it," Leon promised. "Together?" Abraham squeezed my hand. "Should we hire security?" "No," I decided. "That would just prove his point about revenge. We'll face whatever comes with dignity, like Reynolds women always have." The florist cautiously returned, and we all stood up. There was still work to do, details to finalize. But looking at my siblings and fiancé, I felt stronger than ever. 10 days, I said. In 10 days, everything changes. "For the better," Maeve added, hugging me tight. And despite everything, I believed her. Because sometimes the family you choose, or who choose you, is stronger than the family you're born into. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with nervous energy. I stood at the entrance of the restaurant's private room, greeting guests while scanning for Dad. He hadn't responded to any messages about whether he'd attend. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," Mom said, appearing beside me in a sleek navy dress. "Stop worrying about him." "I'm not." The words died in my throat as Dad walked in, his new wife, Patricia, trailing behind him. "Morgan," he said stiffly. "Patricia and I wouldn't miss this important family gathering." The emphasis on family made my skin crawl. Before I could respond, Abraham's elderly Aunt Martha tottered up to us. "Oh, Morgan, dear, congratulations on the inheritance. Your grandmother would be so proud to see her legacy continuing through the Reynolds name." Dad's face turned purple. Patricia tugged at his sleeve, whispering something, but he shrugged her off. "Actually," he said loudly, "there seems to be some confusion about that inheritance." The room quieted. I felt Mom's hand on my back, steadying me. "Dad?" Leon appeared suddenly. "This isn't the time." "When is the time, son?" When you give away your rightful inheritance because of their manipulation? Abraham stepped forward. Sir, I respect that you're Morgan's father, but if you can't be civil. Civil? Dad laughed harshly. Like how civilly they've orchestrated this whole charade. The only charade, Mom's voice cut through the tension, was you pretending to be a fair father to all your children. Maeve appeared with glasses of champagne, deliberately positioning herself between Dad and me. Who's ready for a toast? Excellent idea, Dad said, taking a glass. I'd like to say a few words about family loyalty. Actually, Leon interrupted, clinking his glass. As the best man, I believe that's my job. The guests turned toward Leon, who stood tall and confident. When Morgan asked me to be her best man, I was surprised. We weren't always close. Circumstances and choices made by others kept us apart. But standing here now, I'm honored to call her my sister, to call her a Reynolds. Dad set his glass down with a sharp crack. Leon, think carefully about what you're doing. I have, Dad, for weeks. Leon turned to address the room, which is why I'm announcing now, officially, that I'm transferring grandmother's inheritance to its rightful recipient, Morgan Reynolds. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Patricia pulled at Dad's arm again, but he shook her off. This is ridiculous, he sputtered. You can't. Actually, he can, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see an older man in an expensive suit standing in the doorway. As the executor of your mother's estate, I can confirm that Leon's decision is both legal and binding. James, Dad said, recognizing his mother's lawyer. What are you doing here? Ensuring your mother's wishes are properly honored, James replied, walking over to me. Miss Reynolds, congratulations. Your grandmother would have been proud to see her name carried forward by someone who truly understands family loyalty. Dad's face contorted. This isn't over. I won't let you. Let me? I stepped forward, my voice steady. You lost the right to let me do anything when you chose deception over honesty, favoritism over fairness. Morgan. No, Dad. You've said enough. Tomorrow is my wedding day. You can either attend as a supportive father or not attend at all. Those are your only options now. The room was silent. Dad looked around, perhaps expecting support, but found none. Even Patricia had stepped away from him. Well, he said finally, his voice cold, I suppose we'll all see tomorrow what kind of wedding this turns out to be. He turned and stormed out, Patricia hurrying after him. As conversations slowly resumed, Abraham wrapped his arms around me. You okay? Actually, yes. I leaned into him, watching as Leon, Maeve, and Mom gathered around us protectively. I really am. James handed me a business card. Call my office next week. We'll sort out all the paperwork then. For now, enjoy your celebration. As he left, Maeve raised her glass again. To Morgan and Abraham. To Morgan and Abraham, the room echoed. Later, as guests began to leave, Mom pulled me aside. I found something in my old papers today. A photo of your grandmother Reynolds, your namesake. She changed her name too, you know, back when women rarely did such things. She showed me the photo on her phone, a strong-faced woman with kind eyes. She would have loved you, Morgan, and she would have been so proud of how you've handled all of this. I hugged her tight, feeling tears threaten. Thanks, Mom, for everything. Get some sleep, she said. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Looking around the room at my chosen family, Abraham talking with Leon, Maeve helping clean up, Mom's steady presence beside me, I knew she was right. Tomorrow would be big, whether Dad tried something or not. Because tomorrow wasn't just about getting married. It was about claiming my identity, my inheritance, and my future, all on my own terms. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear. I sat at my childhood bedroom vanity while the makeup artist worked, watching Mom flip through a worn leather journal. Mom? I caught her expression in the mirror. What's wrong? She closed the journal quickly. Nothing, sweetheart. Just some old memories. Is that grandmother's journal? Maeve asked, walking in with coffee cups. The one you found in the attic? Mom hesitated, then opened the journal again. There's something you both need to see. She turned to a marked page. I found this entry last night. It's about your father. I waved the makeup artist away for a moment and took the journal. The handwriting was elegant but firm. Cruz visited today, asking about the inheritance conditions. He seemed particularly concerned about Monica's family name being included. I fear he may try to manipulate the situation to his advantage. I should have been more explicit in my wishes. When was this written? I asked, my hands shaking. 3 months before she died, Mom said quietly. Before you were even born. He knew, Maeve whispered. He knew all along, from the very beginning. A knock at the door interrupted us. Leon poked his head in. Everything okay? Abraham's asking. Look at this. I thrust the journal at him. Leon read quickly, his face darkening. That son of a... He planned this, all of it, from the moment you were born. Has anyone heard from him this morning? Maeve asked. Patricia called, Leon said. They're coming. She said he's been in his study all night, working on something. The speech, I said, turning back to the mirror. He's really going to do it. Let him try, Mom said firmly. We have the truth now. His words can't hurt us anymore. The makeup artist resumed her work while we fell into tense silence. Another knock came. This time it was Abraham. No peeking, Maeve called out. I'm not looking. His voice came through the door. Morgan, can we talk for a minute? Through the door? Everyone cleared the room, leaving me alone. I moved to the door, pressing my hand against it. I'm here. You okay? With everything that's happening? I'm scared, I admitted. Not about marrying you, never about that. But Dad. I talked to security. They'll remove him if he causes a scene. That might make it worse. Then we'll handle it. Together. I could hear his smile. Like we'll handle everything else. I love you, I said softly. I love you too. See you at the altar, Morgan Reynolds. As his footsteps faded, Mom and Maeve returned with my dress. It was simple and elegant, with delicate lace that reminded me of old family photos. Found something else, Mom said, holding up a small blue brooch. Your grandmother wore this at her wedding. It's always been passed down through Reynolds women. As she pinned it to my dress, another knock came. This time it was Patricia. Morgan? She looked uncomfortable. Can we talk? Mom stiffened, but I nodded. Patricia closed the door behind her. Your father, he's not in a good place. The speech he's written, it's cruel, vindictive. I tried to talk him out of it, but he won't listen, I finished. No. She twisted her hands. I'm sorry, for everything, for not seeing it sooner, for not stopping him. It's not your fault. Maybe not. But I want you to know, I won't stand with him when he does this. I can't. Tears threatened to ruin my makeup. Thank you. Patricia hugged me quickly, then left. Mom immediately began fixing my makeup. Well, Maeve said, that was unexpected. Everything about this is unexpected. I laughed shakily. Did you ever think we'd be here, like this? Yes, Mom said simply. From the moment you decided to take back your name, our name, I knew we'd end up here, standing together, stronger than ever. Leon returned with a message from the wedding planner. It was time. Mom helped me with my veil while Maeve adjusted my train. Ready? Leon asked, offering his arm to escort me downstairs. I took one last look in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't just a bride. She was a Reynolds, through and through. Whatever Dad had planned, whatever speech he intended to give, he couldn't take that away from me. Ready, I said. As we left the room, I caught a glimpse of Dad arriving downstairs, clutching a folder I assumed contained his speech. Our eyes met briefly, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in his expression. Regret, perhaps? Or recognition of what he was about to lose. But it was too late for regret now. The music was starting, and my future was waiting at the end of that aisle. The wedding march began. but not the traditional one. Instead, the string quartet played my grandmother Reynolds' favorite song, a detail I'd discovered in her journal. Mom took my arm, and we stood at the back of the church. "Last chance to elope," she whispered, making me laugh. As we started down the aisle, I saw Dad shift in his front row seat, that folder clutched in his hands. But my eyes were drawn to Abraham, standing at the altar with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. Leon stood beside him as best man, while Maeve waited on my side. Halfway down the aisle, Dad stood up. "I object to this farce," he announced loudly. The music screeched to a halt. Mom's grip on my arm tightened. "Cruz," she warned. "Don't. The ceremony hasn't even started," the officiant said. "There's nothing to object to yet." "I object to all of it," Dad continued, opening his folder. "To this manipulation, this theft of inheritance, this mockery of our family name." Abraham started down the steps, but I shook my head slightly. This was my battle. "Morgan," Dad turned to face me, "I've prepared a statement explaining exactly how your mother orchestrated this entire situation." "No," I said clearly, my voice carrying through the church. "You don't get to rewrite history today." "I have proof." "We have proof too," I cut him off. "Grandmother's journal. We found it." The folder trembled in his hands. "What?" "She wrote about you, Dad. About how you came to her, worried about Mom's family name being in the inheritance conditions. How you planned to manipulate everything from the start." Murmurs rippled through the guests. Patricia stood up from beside Dad's empty seat and walked to the back of the church. "You don't understand," Dad's voice cracked. "I was protecting our legacy." "By lying to your daughter?" Leon stepped forward. "By making her work 3 jobs while I got a free ride?" "By hiding her birthright?" Mom added. "The Reynolds name she should have been proud of from the beginning?" Dad looked around the church, perhaps finally realizing how alone he stood. "I did what I thought was right." "No," I said, letting go of Mom's arm and walking toward him. "You did what was easy, what fed your ego, and now you're trying to ruin my wedding day because you can't stand that your plan failed." "Morgan," "I'm not finished." I took the folder from his hands. "You have 2 choices right now, Dad. Sit down and be part of this wedding, or leave. But you will not read this speech. You will not hurt this family anymore." The church was silent. Dad looked at the folder in my hands, then at my face. For the first time, I saw him really see me. Not as his defiant daughter, but as a Reynolds woman standing her ground. "The choice is yours," I said quietly, "but choose carefully, because this is the last chance you get." Seconds ticked by. Finally, Dad's shoulders slumped. Without a word, he walked down the aisle and out of the church. Patricia followed him. I handed the folder to Mom, who promptly dropped it in a decorative trash bin by the door. A few chuckles broke the tension. "Well," the officiant said, "shall we begin?" Actually, I turned to address our guests. "I'd like to say something first." I looked at the faces before me. Abraham's supportive smile, Leon and Maeve's proud grins, Mom's tears of joy. Today isn't just about marriage. It's about family. The one we're born into and the one we choose. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. My grandmother Reynolds understood that. She wrote in her journal about the power of choosing your own path, your own name, your own destiny. I touched the blue brooch on my dress. This belongs to the Reynolds women, strong women who weren't afraid to stand up for themselves. Today, I stand here as Morgan Reynolds, carrying their legacy forward. And I'm marrying a man who understands and supports that legacy. Abraham's eyes shone with tears. Mom squeezed my hand. "Now," I smiled at the officiant, "we can begin." The ceremony that followed was everything I'd dreamed of. When Abraham kissed me, the church erupted in cheers. As we turned to face our guests as husband and wife, I saw Leon slip out his phone to check something. He grinned and showed me the screen, a bank notification. The inheritance transfer was complete. "Perfect timing," he whispered, walking back down the aisle, I felt lighter than air. Dad's empty seat didn't matter. His absence didn't diminish this moment. If anything, it proved I'd made the right choice. Because sometimes the strongest family ties aren't the ones we're born with, but the ones we fight for. And I'd fought for mine, every step of the way. The sunset painted the beach in golden hues as Abraham and I walked along the shore of our honeymoon resort. A message from Maeve lit up my phone. "You need to see this." She'd attached a photo of a newspaper article. The headline made me stop walking. "Local CFO steps down amid family controversy." Dad resigned? I showed Abraham the phone. "Keep reading," he said, peering over my shoulder. The article detailed how Dad had left his position, citing personal reasons. But the part that caught my breath was his quoted statement, "Recent events have made me reevaluate my priorities and the true meaning of legacy." My phone rang. Mom's face appeared on the screen. "Did you see it?" she asked when I answered. "I'm looking at it now. What happened?" "Patricia called me this morning. Apparently, after the wedding, your father locked himself in his study for days. When he finally emerged, he'd written 2 letters. One to the board announcing his resignation, and one to us." "To us?" "It just arrived. I haven't opened it yet. I wanted to wait for you." Abraham squeezed my hand. "We can fly back early if you want." I shook my head. "No, Mom, open it. Read it to me." I heard paper rustling, then Mom's intake of breath. "It's different from what I expected." He writes, "To my family, all of you. I've spent decades building what I thought was a legacy, only to realize I was destroying the most important one I had, my children's trust. Morgan's wedding showed me what true strength looks like. It's not in controlling others or manipulating outcomes. It's in standing firm for what you believe in, as she did, as her grandmother Reynolds did. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you'll accept my resignation from the company as the first step toward making amends. The Reynolds inheritance belongs where it is, with Morgan. I see that now." My legs felt weak. Abraham guided me to sit on the sand. "There's more," Mom continued. "To Monica, you raised our daughter to be stronger than I ever was. To Leon and Maeve, thank you for showing me what sibling loyalty truly means. And to Morgan, you are your grandmother's granddaughter in every way that matters. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that." The waves crashed softly against the shore as I absorbed his words. "Why, he signed it with both his names," Mom said quietly. "Cruz Fox Reynolds. He added his mother's name back." My phone buzzed with another message from Leon. "Dad just called me. He's starting therapy. Says he wants to earn his way back into our lives if we'll let him." "What do you think?" Abraham asked gently. "I think." I watched the sun sink lower over the ocean. I think forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, and healing isn't the same as erasing the past. Mom was still on the line. "Whatever you decide, we're all with you. Reynolds women make their own choices, remember?" I smiled, touching the blue brooch I'd pinned to my beach cover-up. "I know, Mom. Tell everyone I'll call them tomorrow. Right now, I want to watch the sunset with my husband." After saying goodbye, I leaned into Abraham's embrace. "Did I ever tell you what else was in Grandmother's journal?" "What?" "She wrote about love, about how the strongest marriages are built on trust and understanding, about how her husband supported her decision to keep her name, even back then when it was scandalous." "Smart woman," Abraham grinned. "Must run in the family." She also wrote about forgiveness, not the easy kind that comes with a simple sorry, but the hard kind, the kind that takes work and time and proof. "And is that what you want? To give him that chance?" I picked up a seashell, turning it over in my hands. "I want to be strong enough to try. Not for him, but for me. For us. For the family we might have someday." Abraham kissed my temple. "That sounds pretty wise to me, Mrs. Reynolds." "You know what the best part is?" I stood up, pulling him with me. "We get to write our own story now. No manipulation, no hidden agendas. Just us, choosing our path together." "Speaking of choosing," he grinned, I choose to take my gorgeous wife to dinner. The restaurant's holding our sunset reservation. As we walked back toward the resort, I felt at peace. Not because everything was perfect. It wasn't. Not because all wounds were healed. They weren't. But because I finally understood what Grandmother Reynolds had written about in her journal. True legacy isn't in names or inheritances. It's in the strength to forge your own path, the wisdom to learn from the past, and the courage to face the future on your own terms. And standing there, watching the last rays of sun paint the sky in brilliant colors, I knew I was ready for whatever that future might bring.
I stared at the first-class tickets to Venice in my hands, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. My mother's voice echoed through my apartment, complaining about the coffee I'd just served her. "Teresa, darling, you know I can't drink this generic brand. I thought with your fancy job you could at least afford decent coffee." That's me. Teresa, 32, successful marketing executive and still desperately trying to please my impossible mother. I tucked the tickets into my blazer pocket and took a deep breath. "Mom, I have something for you," I said, walking back to the living room where she sat perched on my cream sofa like it might bite her. "If it's more coffee, I'll pass." She wrinkled her nose, pushing the full cup away. "Actually, it's something better." I pulled out the tickets and held them up. "Happy early birthday." Her eyes widened, perfectly manicured fingers snatching the tickets from my hand. "Venice? First class?" For once, she was speechless. "You always talked about wanting to go, remember? When I was little, you'd show me pictures in those travel magazines." "That was before your father left us for that waitress," she said sharply. "Before I had to work 2 jobs to support you." I bit back a retort. She'd been playing the martyr card for 20 years, conveniently forgetting the child support checks and alimony that had paid for her shopping sprees. "Well, now you can finally go," I said, forcing brightness into my voice. "We can go together. 2 weeks in Venice, staying at the Belmond Hotel Cipriani. Everything's arranged." She examined the tickets closely, her expression unreadable. "This must have cost a fortune. I've been saving. I thought it would be nice for us to spend some time together." She set the tickets down carefully. "When do we leave?" "Next week. I've already cleared it with work and—" "Next week?" She stood up abruptly. "That's too soon. I need time to prepare, to shop. You can't expect me to just drop everything." "Mom, please, I checked your schedule with Linda at the salon. You don't have any appointments that can't be rescheduled." She narrowed her eyes. "You went behind my back?" I wanted it to be a surprise. I felt that familiar knot forming in my stomach, the one that always appeared when she started finding problems with my efforts. My phone buzzed. A text from Isabella. "Did you tell her yet? How'd she take it?" I ignored it for now. Isabella had warned me this might not go as planned, but I'd insisted on trying. After all, everyone deserves a second chance, right? "Well," my mother said finally, picking up the tickets again, "I suppose I could make it work, but I'll need new luggage and clothes. You can't expect me to show up at a 5-star hotel looking like a tourist." "I've thought of that too." I reached for my purse and pulled out a gift card. "For that boutique you like on 5th Avenue." Her eyes lit up, the first genuine smile I'd seen all morning. She took the gift card, running her finger along its edge. "You really did think of everything, didn't you?" "I want this to be special, Mom. A fresh start for us." She stood up, gathering her designer handbag. "Well, I better get shopping then. These things take time to plan properly." As I walked her to the door, she surprised me with a quick hug. "You're a good daughter, Teresa. Sometimes I forget that." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Praise and guilt all wrapped up in one neat package. Classic Mom. After she left, I finally replied to Isabella's text. She said yes. "Meeting tomorrow for lunch?" Isabella's response was immediate. "Absolutely. Need to discuss contingency plans." I smiled, thinking of the precautions I'd already taken. The separate copies of all important documents safely stored with Isabella, the emergency funds set aside, the hotel manager already briefed. Just in case. because while I wanted to believe this trip would heal our relationship, 20 years of disappointment had taught me to hope for the best but prepare for the worst. Looking at my mother's untouched coffee cup, I remembered something she used to say when I was little. Trust is earned, not given. Well, Mom, I thought, picking up the cup. I guess we'll both find out if you've earned it. I dumped the coffee in the sink, watching the dark liquid swirl down the drain. 1 week until Venice. 1 week until either everything changed for the better, or I learned once and for all that some relationships couldn't be fixed, no matter how much money or effort you threw at them. Either way, at least I'd know. Final boarding call for Flight 789 to Venice Marco Polo Airport. I checked my watch again, pacing near the gate. My mother was 20 minutes late, and my calls kept going straight to voicemail. A cold feeling crept into my stomach, but I pushed it away. She wouldn't. She couldn't. Miss? The gate agent caught my attention. We need to close the doors. Please, just 5 more minutes. My mother... I'm sorry, but we can't delay the flight. Swallowing hard, I handed over my boarding pass. As I walked down the jet bridge, I sent one last text. Mom, I'm boarding. Please tell me you're already on the plane. The first-class cabin was half empty. I scanned the seats, hoping to see her familiar blonde head, but she wasn't there. A flight attendant approached with a sympathetic smile. Can I help you find someone? My mother. We're traveling together. She should be in 2A. The attendant checked her tablet. I'm sorry, but no one has checked in for that seat. My hands started shaking as I sank into my seat. This wasn't happening. I pulled out my phone one last time before the doors closed, dialing Isabella. Bella, she's not here. What? Did she miss the flight? I don't know. She's not answering her phone. Could you already on it? I'll check her house, call around. The flight attendant gestured for me to end the call. We'll figure this out, Isabella said quickly. Just try to rest during the flight. 8 hours later, I stumbled through Marco Polo Airport, exhausted and worried sick. That's when I saw her. My mother standing at the baggage claim, collecting her designer suitcase. Mom, I called out, relief flooding through me. What happened? Why didn't you... She turned, and for a split second, I caught a flash of something in her eyes. Guilt? Triumph? Before she bolted toward the exit. Mom, wait. I chased after her, dragging my carry-on. As I reached for my passport at the customs checkpoint, my blood ran cold. My travel wallet was missing. The one containing my passport, cash, and credit cards. No. I emptied my purse onto a nearby bench. Nothing. Through the glass doors, I watched helplessly as my mother jumped into a waiting taxi. Miss? A customs officer approached. Is everything all right? My mother, I couldn't even finish the sentence. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Darling, did you really think I'd let you play the hero? Venice was always my dream, not our dream. Don't worry, I'll put your money to good use. Consider it payback for all those years I sacrificed for you. Love, Mom. My legs gave out and I collapsed onto the bench. A young woman sitting nearby looked up from her book. Hey, are you okay? I shook my head, tears finally spilling over. My mother? She stole my passport and money. She's gone. Oh my God. The woman moved closer. I'm Presley. Let me help. We should talk to the police. The police? I laughed bitterly. In a foreign country? She's my mother. They'll never believe me. My phone buzzed again. Isabella. Teresa, your mom's house is empty. All her stuff is gone. What's happening? With trembling fingers, I typed, She took everything. The passport, the emergency cash. She planned this all along. Check your email. Isabella replied instantly. Remember Plan B? I pulled up my email, and there it was. A folder labeled Venice Emergency. Inside were scans of my passport, copies of police reports I'd filed months ago documenting my mother's previous attempts at financial fraud, and contact information for Zachary, the hotel manager I'd briefed about potential issues. Presley was still sitting beside me, her face concerned. Look, she said. I'm staying at the Bellman, too. Let me help you get there, and we can figure this out. My phone buzzed one more time. Isabella again. Already called the hotel. Zachary's expecting her. Remember what we discussed? Let her think she's won. The higher she climbs, the harder she'll fall. I took a deep breath, wiping away my tears. Thank you, I said to Presley. I'd appreciate that ride. As we walked to the taxi stand, I thought about my mother's text. Payback, she'd said. Well, Mom, I thought, you're not the only one who knows how to play the long game. You taught me well. Maybe too well. The Belmont Hotel Cipriani, please. I told the driver, my voice steady now. Let her think she'd won. Let her enjoy her moment of triumph. Because what my mother didn't know was that her perfect plan had just triggered an avalanche she'd never see coming. The water taxi cut through Venice's Grand Canal, but I barely noticed the stunning architecture surrounding us. Presley sat beside me, already proving herself invaluable by lending me her phone charger and helping me contact the U.S. Embassy. So your mom's been planning this for months? She asked, shaking her head in disbelief. Looks that way. The desk clerk at her building said she'd been slowly moving things out for weeks. My phone rang. Isabella again. I put her on speaker. Teresa, I've got news. Your mother tried to use your credit card at Gucci 10 minutes ago, the one we left active. Perfect. I managed a small smile. Is everything in place at the hotel? Zachary's got it all under control. He said she checked in an hour ago, using your reservation. She's in for quite a surprise when she tries to charge anything to the room. Presley leaned forward. Wait, you knew this might happen? Let's just say my mother has a history. I showed her the folder on my phone. These are records of her previous incidents. The time she emptied my college fund, the jewelry she borrowed and sold, the credit cards she opened in my name. That's horrible, Presley said. Why didn't you press charges? Because she's my mother, and because I was stupid enough to keep believing she'd change. The water taxi pulled up to the Bellman's private dock. Zachary was already waiting there, his tall figure impossible to miss in his impeccable suit. Miss Teresa, he said, helping me onto the dock. We've been expecting you. Your mother seems quite comfortable in the presidential suite. The presidential suite? I raised an eyebrow. I booked the garden view room. She insisted on an upgrade. Attempted to charge it to your card, naturally. He smiled thinly. We declined, but allowed her to stay there temporarily. We thought you might want to surprise her. My phone buzzed with another text from my mother. The view from up here is divine, darling. You should see how the sunset hits the water. Oh, wait, you can't. I showed the text to Zachary, who shook his head in disapproval. We have security footage of her arrival, he said, and of her attempting to use your cards. The police have been notified, but they're waiting for your signal before approaching. Presley touched my arm. I have to check in, but my room is on the 3rd floor if you need anything. Room 312. Thank you, I said sincerely, for everything. After she left, Zachary led me to his office. Isabella's face appeared on his computer screen via video call. Okay, Isabella said. Time to review the plan. Teresa, are you sure about this? We can still call the police right now. I thought about all the years of manipulation, the countless times I'd forgiven her, the way she'd smiled when I gave her those tickets. No, she needs to learn. Really learn this time. All right then. Isabella pulled up a document. The hotel's security cameras are all active. We've got copies of her fraudulent charges. The embassy's sending over temporary documents. And I've contacted some interesting people from her past who are very eager to share their stories. Zachary handed me a room key. You'll be in the executive suite, 1 floor below her. We've disabled her room keys. She'll need to come to the front desk to get back in if she leaves. Perfect. I checked my watch. She'll be heading to dinner soon. She never misses a chance to be seen in a fancy restaurant. The Oro restaurant is fully booked, Zachary confirmed. But mysteriously, there's one table available, right in the center of the room. Isabella's voice turned serious. Teresa, remember, let her dig herself deeper. Let her think she's untouchable. The higher she climbs, the harder she'll fall. I finished. I remember. A knock at the office door made us all jump. Presley poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought you should know. Your mother's heading to the restaurant, and she's wearing what looks like a very expensive new dress. I stood up, smoothing my travel-wrinkled clothes. Time to get ready, then. Your luggage has been delivered to your room, Zachary said, including the dress Isabella had sent over. I looked at my best friend's face on the screen. You thought of everything, didn't you? That's what best friends are for. She grinned. Now go get changed. Your mother wants to make a scene? Let's give her one she'll never forget. As I headed to my room, I felt strangely calm. Maybe because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to win my mother's approval. I wasn't trying to fix her or change her or understand her. I was simply going to show her exactly what it felt like to be on the receiving end of betrayal. And thanks to my friends, old and new, I wouldn't have to do it alone. The Oro restaurant glittered with candlelight and wealth. I stood in the entrance, wearing the sleek black dress Isabella had chosen, watching my mother hold court at the center table. She'd already gathered an audience, 2 older couples hanging on her every word. And then I said to my daughter, she was saying, gesturing with her wine glass, Darling, you work too hard. Let me handle the travel arrangements. I moved closer, silent in my heels. The poor dear is so consumed with her career, she barely has time for family, she continued, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. That's why I insisted on taking this trip. Someone has to show her how to enjoy life. How generous of you, I said loudly, making her jump. Please, Mom, tell them more about how you're spending my money. The color drained from her face. Teresa, I thought you couldn't make it. Clearly. I turned to her new friends. Did she tell you how she got here? About stealing my passport and credit cards? The couples exchanged uncomfortable glances. Teresa, darling, you're making a scene. My mother hissed, her smile strained. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Why? You didn't seem concerned about privacy when you left me stranded at the airport. Zachary appeared at my side. Is everything all right here? My mother's face brightened. Yes. I was just about to order another bottle of wine. The 82 Bordeaux, I think. I'm afraid that won't be possible, madam. Your credit cards have been declined and the room charges have been suspended. There must be some mistake. She reached for her purse, my travel wallet, but I was faster. Looking for this? I held up a second wallet, identical to the one she'd stolen. Amazing what you can do with a color printer and some basic crafting skills. Her eyes widened as she opened her stolen wallet, finding only carefully crafted replicas of my cards and documents. The real ones are safe with Isabella, I said, along with evidence of every fraudulent charge you've tried to make today. The other diners were openly staring now. My mother stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. How dare you embarrass me like this, after everything I've done for you? You mean like emptying my college fund? Or maxing out the credit cards you opened in my name when I was 18? I paid those back. With money you stole from your sister. Yes, Aunt Sarah told me everything. She grabbed her purse. I don't have to listen to this. I'm going to my room. Your room? Zachary stepped forward. I believe you mean the presidential suite that you attempted to charge to a fraudulent credit card? I'm afraid we'll need you to vacate immediately. You can't do this to me. She looked around wildly, but her dinner companions were suddenly very interested in their meals. Security is waiting to escort you out, Zachary said calmly. Unless you'd prefer we call the police? My mother's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful little... Careful, Mom. I nodded toward the security cameras. Everything's being recorded. She straightened her spine, trying to salvage her dignity. Fine, I'll leave, but don't think this is over. Oh, it's not, I agreed. We're just getting started. By the way, how many of your new friends here know about the Williams family? She froze. You wouldn't. Tomorrow's another day, Mom. And I learned from the best how to destroy someone's reputation. 2 security guards appeared at the restaurant entrance. My mother marched past them, head held high, but I caught the tremor in her hands. "Your mother's belongings have been removed from the suite," Zachary murmured. "We've arranged a room for her at a more suitable hotel across town." Perfect. I sat down at her abandoned table, picking up her half-empty wine glass. "And the other arrangements? All in place for tomorrow's gala. Several guests are particularly interested in meeting your mother." I smiled, taking a sip of wine. "Excellent." My phone buzzed. Isabella sending a video link. Security footage from the hotel lobby showed my mother trying to argue at the front desk, then being escorted out by security, her designer suitcases wheeled behind her. "Sweet dreams, Mom," I whispered, raising the glass in a mock toast. Tomorrow's going to be a day you'll never forget. Across the restaurant, Presley caught my eye and gave me a thumbs up. Other diners were whispering, phones out, no doubt sharing the evening's drama on social media. Let them talk. Let the story spread. Because tomorrow, at the hotel's prestigious summer gala, they'd learn what my mother was really capable of. Not just from me, but from every person she'd ever betrayed. And this time, there would be nowhere left for her to run. The hotel's grand ballroom buzzed with Venice's elite, champagne flowing freely as string musicians played in the corner. I stood near the entrance with Presley, watching my mother work the room. Despite last night's humiliation, she'd managed to talk her way into the gala, dressed in what I recognized as my missing Valentino gown. "Your mother's got nerve, I'll give her that," Presley whispered. "Just wait." I checked my phone. "Isabella, are we ready?" "Everyone's in position." Isabella's voice came through my earpiece. The Williams family just arrived. And guess who else showed up? Robert from the investment firm. My mother's former boss, the one whose signature she'd forged on company documents. Perfect. "Ladies and gentlemen," Zachary's voice boomed through the speakers. "Welcome to our annual summer gala." Right on cue, the massive screens around the ballroom lit up with security footage from yesterday. My mother attempting to use stolen credit cards, throwing a tantrum at the front desk, being escorted out. The crowd fell silent. My mother froze mid-conversation, her champagne glass slipping from her fingers and shattering on the marble floor. "Some of you may recognize this woman," I said, stepping onto the small stage. "Giselle, my mother. Expert con artist, master manipulator, and tonight's guest of honor." "Teresa, stop this immediately." She tried to march toward me, but 2 security guards blocked her path. "Why stop? You always taught me to finish what I start." I gestured to the screens. "And we're just getting started. Would anyone like to hear about the Williams Family Trust Fund?" An elderly couple stepped forward, the Williams looking exactly as their photos showed. "She convinced our grandson to invest his entire inheritance in a fake company," Mrs. Williams said, her voice shaking with anger. "He was only 19. "That's a lie," my mother shouted. "Teresa, how dare you arrange this circus? Is it a lie, Giselle?" A man in an expensive suit emerged from the crowd. Robert, looking older but just as intimidating as I remembered. "Like the documents you forged with my signature? The ones that lost my clients millions?" The whispers grew louder. My mother's face had gone chalk white. "Or perhaps," I continued, "we should ask Linda about the charity fundraiser money that mysteriously disappeared." Linda, a woman in her 60s, stepped forward. $300,000 meant for children's cancer research. Gone. "This is ridiculous," my mother sputtered. "These people are all lying. Teresa is trying to ruin me because she's jealous of my success." "Success?" I laughed. "Let's talk about success, Mom. Show them the accounts, Isabella." The screens changed to display bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents, all showing a pattern of theft and fraud spanning decades. "Your success was built on stealing from others, including your own daughter." I turned to the crowd. "She emptied my college fund when I was 17, opened credit cards in my name, and just yesterday she stole my passport and tried to strand me at the airport." "You ungrateful little—" She lunged forward, but the guards held firm. "Ungrateful?" A new voice rang out. Aunt Sarah emerged from the crowd. Like you were ungrateful when our parents left me the house? When you forged my signature to take out a second mortgage? My mother's carefully constructed facade began to crack. Sarah, please. The police are waiting outside, Zachary announced, along with representatives from 3 different banks' fraud departments. You can't prove anything, my mother said desperately, but her voice wavered. Actually, we can. I nodded to Isabella, who had just entered the ballroom. Every document, every fraud, every lie. We have proof of all of it. And thanks to your performance tonight, we have dozens of witnesses. The crowd had formed a circle around my mother, their faces showing disgust and recognition as they connected her to various scams and schemes they'd heard about. This isn't over, she hissed, but the threat sounded hollow. You're right, Mom. It's not over. It's just beginning. The police want to talk to you about identity theft. The banks want to discuss fraud. And I'm sure all these lovely people have their own questions. As the police entered the ballroom, my mother did something I'd never seen before. She began to cry. Not her usual calculated tears, but genuine, messy sobs. Teresa, please. I'm your mother. Yes, you are. And you taught me everything I know about revenge. I turned away as the police approached her, including how to serve it cold. The crowd parted as they led her out, her mascara running, my stolen dress dragging on the floor. Years of carefully crafted lies and manipulation, unraveling in a single night. Isabella hugged me tightly. You okay? I watched my mother's retreating figure, feeling nothing but a profound sense of relief. I'm free, I said simply. For the first time in my life, I'm actually free. The morning after the gala, I sat in Zachary's office with Isabella, Presley, and a growing group of my mother's victims. The Williams family brought coffee and pastries. Linda from the Charity Foundation had files stretching back 15 years. Aunt Sarah clutched a stack of forged documents. The police found her trying to book a flight to Switzerland, Isabella announced, hanging up her phone. Using another stolen credit card, of course. Some people never learn. Aunt Sarah sighed, spreading her papers across the desk. Look at this. She even forged Mom's signature on her will, a week before she died. Linda leaned forward. That matches her pattern. She targeted my foundation right after my husband passed away. She knew I'd be too grief-stricken to notice the missing funds. She waited until our grandson was dealing with a bad breakup. Mrs. Williams added. She always struck when people were vulnerable. My phone buzzed, a call from an unknown number. I put it on speaker. Teresa? My mother's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. They're keeping me at the station. You have to help me. Like you helped me at the airport? That was different. I'm your mother. You can't let them do this to me. Aunt Sarah grabbed the phone. Giselle, you remember that summer house you convinced Dad to sign over to you? The police found some interesting documents in the safe there. Silence then. Sarah, what are you doing there? Having a lovely chat with your other victims. Did you really think Teresa was the only one you hurt? You don't understand, my mother pleaded. I had no choice. After Richard left me. Stop. I took the phone back. Dad left because he caught you embezzling from his company. He didn't abandon us. You drove him away. That's not true. I talked to him last night, Mom. For the first time in 20 years. Want to know what he said? More silence. He told me about the money you stole, the clients you defrauded. He tried to protect me by taking the blame, letting me think he was the bad guy who abandoned us. Teresa, please. The police have his statement now, along with statements from everyone else in this room. Do you want to know how many people came forward after the gala? How many lives you destroyed? A choked sob came through the speaker. I can explain everything. Save it for your lawyer. I ended the call. Mrs. Williams touched my hand gently. You're nothing like her, dear. Standing up to her took real courage. She's right, Presley said. I've only known you a few days, but I've seen how different you are from her. Isabella pulled up something on her laptop. Speaking of differences, you should see this. She turned the screen to show a news website. The headline read, International con artist exposed at Venice Hotel Gala. Decades of fraud uncovered. It's going viral, Isabella said. People are coming forward from all over. That charity scam in Paris? The real estate fraud in London? All her. The detective wants to meet with everyone, Zachary added, entering with fresh coffee. They're building a case for international fraud charges. Linda stood up, straightening her jacket. Well, I for one am ready to tell them everything. 20 years of silence is enough. One by one, they left for the police station, each carrying their pieces of my mother's elaborate web of lies. Finally, only Isabella, Presley, and I remained. What happens now? Presley asked. I walked to the window, watching boats cruise down the canal. Now we make sure she can't hurt anyone else. The banks are freezing all her accounts, Isabella reported, and they're investigating everyone she worked with. Your dad's helping track down her overseas assets. My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. This time, a text. Your father was weak. You're weak too. You think this is over? I raised you, Teresa. I made you who you are. You'll never be free of me. I showed the message to Isabella, who immediately started typing on her laptop. Got it. Sending this to the detective now. She's not supposed to contact you. She's scared, Presley observed. That's why she's lashing out. Good. I deleted the message. She should be scared, because tomorrow every single person in this room is meeting with the prosecutor, and we all have stories to tell. Isabella closed her laptop with a satisfied smile. Want to know the best part? That Valentino dress she wore to the gala? The security cameras caught her stealing it from your room. That's another charge to add to the list. For the first time since this all began, I laughed. Really laughed. Because my mother was right about one thing. She did make me who I am. She taught me to be smart, to be careful, to always have a backup plan. She just never expected me to use those lessons against her. The courthouse in Venice was smaller than I expected. I sat in the front row watching my mother in her prison-issued clothes, a far cry from her stolen designer wardrobe. The preliminary hearing had drawn a crowd, including every person she'd wronged who could make it to Italy. The prosecution calls Teresa to the stand, the prosecutor announced in Italian, with the court translator echoing in English. As I walked to the witness stand, my mother caught my eye. You don't have to do this, darling, she said softly. Family protects family. Is that what you were doing when you left me stranded at the airport? Her lawyer shushed her as I took my seat. Please state your relationship to the defendant, the prosecutor began. She's my mother, though I use that term loosely now. Can you describe the events that led to her arrest? I recounted everything, the stolen passport, the credit cards, the elaborate setup at the hotel. With each detail, my mother's face grew darker. And this wasn't the first incident, was it? The prosecutor prompted. No, when I was 17, she... Objection. My mother suddenly stood up. I demand to speak to my daughter alone. The judge banged his gavel. Sit down, Mrs. O'Connor. You don't understand, she pleaded. She's confused. I was protecting her inheritance. By stealing it? I shot back. By opening credit cards in my name? Everything I did was for you. The judge banged his gavel again. One more outburst and you'll be removed from the court. Isabella squeezed my hand as I continued testifying. I detailed every scheme, every manipulation, every betrayal. The college fund, the forged documents, the stolen identities. And what about your father? The prosecutor asked. He's provided a written statement, I said, explaining how she embezzled from his company and framed him for it. My mother's composure finally cracked. Richard was weak. He would have lost everything if I hadn't taken control. Remove the defendant, the judge ordered. As security approached, my mother turned to the courtroom. You're all weak. None of you understand what it takes to succeed in this world. We understand right from wrong, Aunt Sarah called out. Something you never learned. They led my mother away, but not before she got in one last shot. I made you strong, Teresa. Everything you are is because of me. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, Isabella hugged me tight while Presley kept the reporters at bay. "You did great," Isabella said, "and wait until she finds out about tomorrow's witnesses." "How many are testifying?" Presley asked. 23 so far," a familiar voice answered. I turned to see my father walking toward us, looking older but still familiar. "Dad." I hadn't seen him in person since the phone call. He wrapped me in a hug that felt 20 years overdue. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have fought harder for you." "You're here now," I said, wiping away tears. "That's what matters." The prosecutor approached with new papers. "We've found 3 more victims willing to testify, and evidence of fraud in 6 countries. She'll never get out, will she?" I asked. "Not for a very long time." Back in the courtroom, my mother sat subdued, finally seeming to grasp the gravity of her situation. Her lawyer looked overwhelmed by the mounting evidence. "The prosecution calls Richard to the stand," the translator announced. My father squared his shoulders and walked forward. My mother's head snapped up. "Richard, please." She tried one last time. "Think about our family." "I am," he said firmly. "That's why I'm here." As he began to testify about the company fraud, I watched my mother's face. For the first time in my life, I saw real fear there. Not manipulation, not calculated tears, but genuine terror as her carefully constructed world crumbled. "Would you like to make a statement?" the judge asked her when my father finished. She stood slowly, looking around the courtroom at all the faces of those she'd betrayed. Her voice, when it came, was barely audible. I don't know how to be any other way." "That's not an excuse," I said clearly. "That's why you're here." The judge nodded. "We'll resume tomorrow with additional witnesses." As they led my mother back to her cell, she looked over her shoulder at me one last time. I saw something I'd never seen before in her eyes. Recognition. Not of me as her daughter, her victim, or her downfall, but of herself, reflected back in all her broken pieces. The woman who thought she could control everything was finally, completely powerless. And I was finally, completely free. The verdict came down like a thunderclap. 20 years in prison, no possibility of parole for at least 15. Multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, embezzlement, and grand larceny across 6 countries. As the judge read out the sentence, my mother sat perfectly still, her face a blank mask. "Do you have any final words for the court?" the judge asked. She stood slowly, turning not to the judge but to me. "I thought I was teaching you to survive, to be strong. I didn't realize I was teaching you how to destroy me." "You destroyed yourself, Mom. I just showed everyone the truth." The bailiff stepped forward to lead her away, but she resisted for a moment. "Will you visit me?" "No." One word. Simple, final, free. They let her out, and the courtroom erupted in quiet conversation. Isabella squeezed my hand while Presley hugged me from the other side. My father stood nearby, talking with Aunt Sarah. "Miss Teresa?" Zachary appeared at my elbow. "There's something you should see." He led our group to the courthouse steps where dozens of people waited. More victims, more stories, more lives touched by my mother's web of deceit. "They all came forward after the news broke," Isabella explained. "Some traveled from as far as Australia." A young woman approached me, tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "My grandmother lost everything to your mother's investment scam. Now we can finally get closure." One by one, they shared their stories. Each one felt like a weight lifting, a chain breaking, a wound healing. "What happens now?" Presley asked as we walked back to the hotel. "Now?" I looked at the sunset over Venice's canals, the view my mother had tried to steal. "Now we heal. All of us." In the hotel lobby, Zachary handed me a letter. "This arrived for you." The return address was the women's prison. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. "My dearest Teresa," it began. "By the time you read this, I'll have been sentenced. I won't ask for forgiveness. We both know I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that in the end, you proved me wrong. I thought love was weakness. You proved it was strength. You gathered an army of broken people and made them whole again. You turned my victims into warriors. You are everything I never could be. Strong without being cruel. Powerful without being destructive. I'm not sorry for what I did. I don't know how to be. But I am proud of what you've become, even if it meant becoming my downfall. Maybe that's the only good thing I ever did. Creating the person who would finally stop me. Goodbye, my darling daughter. Make a better life than I did. Love, Mom. I handed the letter to Isabella, who read it and passed it around. Do you believe her? My father asked gently. It doesn't matter, I replied. Her words don't have power over me anymore. The hotel restaurant had prepared a special dinner for our group, all the people who'd helped bring my mother to justice. As we sat down, Isabella raised her glass. To Teresa, who turned a nightmare into a revolution. To justice, Aunt Sarah added. To freedom, my father said. I looked around the table at these faces, some new friends, some old family, all united by a shared journey toward healing. My phone buzzed with messages from other victims around the world, sharing their stories of recovery and renewal. To all of us, I said, raising my glass, for choosing truth over fear. Later that night, I stood on my hotel balcony, watching the lights of Venice twinkle across the water. Presley joined me, 2 cups of coffee in hand. So what's next for you? She asked. Isabella and I are starting a support network for fraud victims, I said. And Dad's helping set up a legal fund for people who can't afford to fight back. Turning pain into purpose, she nodded. That's real strength. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert. My mother's face stared back from the screen, but it didn't affect me anymore. She looked small now, diminished, just another criminal in prison clothes. I deleted the alert without reading it. You know what the best revenge is? I asked Presley. Living well, being happy, helping others. Your mother never understood that kind of power. No, I agreed. She never did. The night air was warm and sweet with possibility. Somewhere in the distance, church bells rang, their sound carrying across the water like a reminder that even the darkest stories can end in light. I didn't need my mother's approval anymore. I didn't need her love or her lessons or her twisted version of strength. I had something better. Truth, justice, and a family of choice who showed me what real love looks like. That was worth more than all the stolen fortunes in the world.
I stood in front of the full-length mirror, draped in white silk and lace, wondering if this was how every bride felt on her wedding day, like she was starring in someone else's fairy tale. My name is Zuriel, and in less than 3 hours I was supposed to marry the man of my dreams. Instead, I was fighting the urge to rip off my veil and run. You look perfect, Hallie gushed, adjusting my train for the 100th time. Leo won't be able to take his eyes off you. I caught her reflection in the mirror. My sister's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Something was off, had been off for weeks now. The way she'd hover during my phone calls, her sudden interest in my financial planning meetings, those hushed conversations that stopped whenever I entered a room. Thanks, I managed, forcing a smile. Could you grab my phone from my purse? I want to check if Mom's arrived. The moment Hallie left the bridal suite, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. The knock on the door made me jump. Zur? Elise's familiar voice called out. You decent? Come in, I said, relief washing over me at the sight of my best friend's face. Please tell me you brought coffee. She slipped inside, 2 paper cups in hand. Better. I brought vodka. I laughed, but it came out hollow. That obvious, huh? You look like you're about to attend a funeral, not your wedding. Elise handed me a cup. Spill. What's wrong? Before I could answer, voices drifted up from the garden below. My father's distinctive tone made me freeze. Everything's in place, he was saying. Once they're married, Leo will have access to her trust fund. The paperwork's ironclad. And she doesn't suspect anything? Leo's voice. My fiancé's voice, discussing my money with my father.
Zuriel's always been naive when it comes to family, just like her mother. The coffee cup slipped from my fingers, splashing across the pristine carpet. Elise grabbed my arm, steadying me. "Those bastards," she whispered. I moved to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the curtain. Leo and my father stood by the rose garden, heads bent together like conspirators. Which, I realized with a sick feeling in my stomach, was exactly what they were. "I need your phone," I said to Elise, my voice surprisingly steady. "Mine's with Hallie, and I need to record this." She handed it over without question. I hit record just as Leo spoke again. "The prenup won't be a problem?" My father laughed. "Already taken care of. The lawyer's an old friend, made sure there were enough loopholes to drive a truck through. Within 6 months, you'll have full access to her inheritance." "And Hallie? She's still on board?" "My eldest knows what's good for her. Besides, her cut's already been negotiated." I stopped recording, my hands shaking. "My own sister," I whispered. "My own family." Elise pulled me into a fierce hug. "What are you going to do?" The door opened, and Hallie breezed back in, my phone in hand. "Sorry it took so long. Mom's stuck in traffic, but she'll be here soon." She paused, taking in the scene. "Everything okay?" I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The designer bridesmaid dress she'd insisted on, the new diamond earrings she shouldn't have been able to afford on her teacher's salary, all the pieces falling into place. "Everything's fine," I said, smoothing down my dress. "Just wedding day jitters." Hallie relaxed visibly. "Don't worry, sis. This is going to be a day no one will ever forget." For the first time since overhearing the conversation, I felt my lips curve into a genuine smile. "You're absolutely right about that." After Hallie left to check on the flowers, Elise grabbed my shoulders. "Please tell me you have a plan." I reached for my purse, pulling out a small USB drive. "Remember last month when I said I was paranoid for installing security cameras in my office? Turns out paranoia pays off." I handed her the drive. "I need you to get this to the AV team. Tell them it's a surprise wedding video." "What's on it?" "What's on?" "Every conversation my father and Leo have had in my office for the past 3 weeks. Every plot, every scheme, every betrayal." I straightened my veil, a calm settling over me. "They want a show? I'll give them one they'll never forget." "Zur," Elise said softly, "are you sure about this?" I met my reflection's gaze in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't a victim. She was a force to be reckoned with. "They thought they could steal my future," I said. "Instead, they're about to lose everything." "You need to see this," Elise whispered, pulling me into an empty conference room at the venue. 2 hours until the ceremony, and my heart was racing with equal parts rage and determination. She pulled up a video on her laptop, security footage from my father's office that I hadn't seen yet. The timestamp showed yesterday afternoon. "I had to hack into his cloud storage," she explained. "Your dad really should use better passwords than your mom's birthday." On screen, Hallie paced back and forth while my father sat at his desk, counting what looked like stacks of cash. "What if she finds out?" Hallie's voice crackled through the speakers. "Zuriel's not stupid." "Your sister sees what she wants to see," my father replied. "Just like she sees love when she looks at Leo. Speaking of which, your advance payment." He pushed an envelope across the desk. Hallie snatched it up. "This isn't what we agreed on." "The rest comes after the wedding. Can't have you getting cold feet now, can we?" I clicked the laptop shut, unable to watch anymore. "My own sister sold me out for cash." "There's more," Elise said quietly. "Your mom—" A knock at the door made us both jump. Hallie stuck her head in. "There you are. Mom's looking for you. Something about the veil?" I forced a smile. "Be right there." As soon as Hallie left, I turned to Elise. "I need you to do something else for me. Call Nathaniel." "Your old friend from law school? Why?" "Because I'm about to blow up my entire family, and I need a good lawyer in my corner." 20 minutes later, I was sitting in the bridal suite while my mother fussed with my veil. Her hands trembled slightly as she pinned it in place. "Mom," I said softly, "is there something you want to tell me?" She froze for a moment, then continued adjusting the fabric. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "About Leo, about the prenup, about any of it." Her hands dropped to her sides. Zuriel, please. How long have you known? She sank into a nearby chair, suddenly looking every bit her age. Your father? He said it was for the best. That Leo would take care of you, keep the money in the family. And that made it okay to conspire against your own daughter? I tried to stop it at first, she whispered. But your father, you know how he gets. I did know. I'd watched him manipulate and control everyone around him my entire life. But this time was different. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathaniel. Everything's ready. Are you sure about this? I typed back quickly. Absolutely. Zuriel, my mother pleaded. Whatever you're thinking of doing, save it, I cut her off. You had your chance to warn me, to protect me. You chose not to. A knock at the door announced Elise's return. The guests are arriving, she said, and I've got something you need to see. She handed me her tablet. On it was a bank statement. Leo's personal account. Regular deposits from my father over the past year, totaling close to $500,000. He's been getting paid to court you, Elise explained. Your father orchestrated the whole relationship. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Of course he did, because finding my own happiness wasn't part of his master plan, was it? Another knock, and this time it was Hallie. The photographer wants some pre-ceremony shots with the family. Perfect timing, I said, standing. Let's get everyone together. One last happy family portrait. As we walked to the garden, Hallie grabbed my arm. You seem different. Is everything okay? I stopped and turned to face her. Tell me something, sis. How much was I worth to you? How much did our father have to pay you to betray me? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. No? Should we ask Leo? Or maybe we should check that envelope in your purse. She grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in. Whatever you think you know. I know everything, I hissed, pulling free. And in about an hour, so will everyone else. You'll destroy this family. No, Hallie. You all did that yourselves. I smoothed my dress and plastered on a smile. Now, let's go take those photos. I want to remember exactly how everyone looked before it all fell apart. As we joined the rest of the family by the rose garden, I caught Elise's eye. She gave me a subtle nod. Everything was in place. My father raised his champagne glass. To my beautiful daughter and the perfect union of our families. I raised my own glass, meeting his eyes. To truth, I said, and to karma. The confusion that flashed across his face was just the beginning. The real show was about to start. After the photos, I slipped away to meet Nathaniel in the venue's library. He stood by the window, tablet in hand, looking every bit the sharp lawyer he'd become since our law school days. Did you get everything transferred? I asked, closing the door behind me. As of 20 minutes ago, your entire inheritance is locked in an ironclad trust. He showed me the confirmation documents. Your father's going to have an aneurysm when he realizes he can't touch it. What about the prenup? Already handled. I filed the documentation showing it was signed under duress and with fraudulent intent. Even if Leo tries to challenge it, he doesn't stand a chance. A soft knock interrupted us. My mother entered, closing the door quickly behind her. I thought I'd find you here, she said, wringing her hands. Sweetheart, please. Whatever you're planning. Sit down, Mom. I gestured to a leather armchair. Let's talk about the offshore account Dad opened in your name. She sank into the chair, face pale. How did you... The same way I know about the payments to Leo, the fake prenup, and Hallie's little side deal. I pulled up a chair across from her. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Your father. He said it was just insurance, that the money would stay in the family. No, Mom. The money was never going to stay in the family. It was going to stay with him. I leaned forward. Did you know Leo's already picked out the house he's going to buy with my money? In the Cayman Islands, coincidentally. Her hands started shaking. I didn't want any part of this. But you went along with it anyway. I stood up. You have 30 minutes to make a choice. Either stand with me when I expose everything, or go down with them. Zuriel. 30 minutes, Mom. Choose wisely. As she hurried out, Nathaniel whistled low. That was intense. It's about to get worse. I checked my phone. A message from Elise confirming the video setup was ready. I need you to do one more thing for me. Name it. When everything goes down, get my mother out of here. No matter what she chooses, she doesn't deserve to watch her world collapse in public. He nodded. Consider it done. I was heading back to the bridal suite when I heard voices from my father's private office. I pressed against the wall, listening. She knows something, Hallie was saying. She's been acting weird all morning. Impossible, Leo replied. Everything's been perfect. She suspects nothing. Then why did she ask about the envelope? About how much I was paid? Both of you, shut up, my father snapped. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. Get it together. But Dad, I said shut up. This wedding is happening. Everything we've worked for depends on it. I pulled out my phone and started recording. And what exactly have we worked for, Dad? I stepped into the doorway, phone raised. Please, enlighten me. The color drained from their faces. Leo recovered first, moving toward me with his arms outstretched. Baby, what are you doing here? It's bad luck to... Save it. I backed away from his reach. I've had enough luck with you to last a lifetime. My father stood, his face darkening. Whatever you think you know. I know everything. I held up my phone. And now I have this conversation too. Should we add it to the highlight reel? Highlight reel? Hallie's voice cracked. Oh, didn't Dad tell you? All those private conversations in his office? Not so private after all. My father lunged for my phone, but I was already moving. You ungrateful little... Careful, Dad. Wouldn't want to bruise the bride before her big moment, would you? Zuriel, please, Leo tried again. We can talk about this. Oh, we will, in front of everyone. I backed toward the door. I hope you're all camera ready. Your performances are about to go viral. I slammed the door on their shocked faces and ran straight into Elise. There you are. She grabbed my arm. Everything's ready, but we have a problem. Your mom is right here. My mother's voice came from behind us. We turned to find her standing there, spine straight, eyes clear. And I'm done being a coward. Mom? She pulled an envelope from her purse. Bank statements, transfer records, everything your father's been hiding for the past year. She handed it to me. I should have done this months ago. I hugged her tight, breathing in her familiar perfume. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. She pulled back, straightening my veil. Now, let's go give these bastards exactly what they deserve. As we walked toward the ceremony, I could hear the guests being seated, the soft music starting to play. In 15 minutes, I was supposed to walk down the aisle toward my happily ever after. Instead, I was about to burn it all down. And I couldn't wait to light the match. The string quartet played softly as guests filtered into their seats. I watched from a hidden alcove as Leo worked the crowd, flashing that practiced smile I'd once found so charming. Now I could see the calculation behind it. Everything's set, Elise whispered, joining me. The video will start playing the moment you give the signal. And the police? Nathaniel has them on standby. The moment we show the evidence of financial fraud, they'll move in. A movement caught my eye. My father gesturing frantically at Hallie near the altar. She nodded and hurried toward the bridal suite where I was supposed to be waiting. Showtime, I muttered, slipping back through the side door just as Hallie burst in. There you are! She was breathless, panicked. Dad wants to talk to you, before the ceremony. I bet he does. I adjusted my veil in the mirror. Tell him I'll see him at the altar, where everyone can hear what I have to say. Zuriel, please. She grabbed my arm. You don't understand what you're about to do. I yanked free. No, you don't understand what you did. How much was it worth, Hallie? How much did Dad pay you to help destroy my life? It wasn't like that. I needed the money. For what? The new car? The designer clothes? Was selling out your sister worth it? Tears welled in her eyes. You've always had everything. The inheritance, Dad's approval, the perfect life. I just wanted... Perfect life? I laughed bitterly. You mean the life where my own family conspired to steal everything from me? Where my fiancé is nothing but a paid actor? Leo loves you. Leo loves my money, and now I have proof. I pulled out my phone, showing her the bank statements. Every payment, every meeting, every lie, it's all documented. The color drained from her face. Those transfers? They could be anything. Really? Should we ask Leo about the house in the Caymans? Or maybe about his girlfriend in Miami? Her head snapped up. What girlfriend? Oh, you didn't know about that part? Interesting how Dad kept some secrets even from his accomplices. The wedding march began to play. Hallie's hands started shaking. Don't do this, she pleaded. You'll destroy everything. No, you all did that yourselves. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. A knock at the door. Elise poked her head in. It's time. I turned to my sister one last time. You should get out there. You won't want to miss this. The walk to the ceremony felt surreal. Through the glass doors, I could see Leo at the altar, my father beaming proudly in the front row. 200 guests waited to witness what they thought would be a fairy tale wedding. Wait! My mother's voice came from behind me. She looked elegant in her navy dress, but her eyes were steel. I'm walking you down the aisle. Mom? No. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. She took my arm. Besides, I want to see your father's face up close when it all falls apart. The doors opened. The guests stood. The music swelled. As we walked down the aisle, I caught snippets of whispered conversations. She looks beautiful. Such a perfect couple. The Garrett family must be so proud. If they only knew. Leo's smile faltered slightly as he saw my mother walking me down the aisle instead of my father. Good, let him sweat. We reached the altar. Leo extended his hand to help me up the steps. You look stunning, baby, he whispered. Save your lines for your girlfriend in Miami, I whispered back. His hand tightened painfully on mine. What did you say? Before he could recover, the officiant began, Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. I looked out at the sea of faces. My father, suddenly uncertain. Hallie, pale and trembling. The dozens of society friends and business associates here to witness what they thought would be the social event of the season. If anyone knows any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, the officiant continued, speak now or forever, hold your peace. I raised my hand. Actually, I have something to say. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Leo's grip on my hand became crushing. Darling, he said through clenched teeth, what are you doing? I smiled, sweet as poison. I'm giving everyone exactly what they came for, a show they'll never forget. I turned to face the guests, pulling my hand free from Leo's grasp. Before we continue, there's a video I'd like everyone to watch. The massive screens on either side of the altar flickered to life. My father half rose from his seat, face contorting with rage. Zuriel, he growled, sit down. No, Dad, I think everyone should see this. I nodded to Elise at the back of the room. Roll it. The first clip played. My father and Leo in the office discussing payment schedules and asset transfers. The audio was crystal clear. Once you're married, my father's voice boomed through the speakers. We'll start moving her assets offshore. She'll never know what hit her. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Leo lunged for the microphone in my hand, but I stepped back. Careful, darling. Wouldn't want to look violent in front of all these witnesses, would you? The next clip showed Hallie counting stacks of cash. And she really doesn't suspect anything? Your sister's too busy planning her perfect wedding, my father's voice replied. By the time she figures it out, the money will be gone. Someone in the audience shouted, Turn it off! Oh, we're just getting started, I announced, my voice steady. Let's talk about Leo's girlfriend in Miami, the one he visited last week while telling me he was at a business conference. The screen showed security footage of Leo in a beachfront restaurant, kissing a woman who definitely wasn't me. That's not... I can explain... Leo stammered. Explain what? The offshore account? The fake prenup? Or maybe explain this? The next clip showed Leo and my father in the garden just hours ago, laughing about their scheme. I have to admit, Leo said on screen, it was easier than I thought. She really believed all that love at first sight bullshit. The audience erupted in shocked murmurs. I saw several people pulling out phones, recording everything. Security! My father shouted. Shut this down! The security team works for me now, I said calmly. Just like the cameras in your office worked for me. Just like everything you tried to steal from me still works for me. Hallie rushed forward. Sis, please. Don't sis me. I turned to the crowd. My own sister sold me out for $100,000 and a promise of more to come. I have the receipts for that too. The screens showed bank transfers, dated messages, every piece of evidence I'd gathered over the past months. You're making a mistake, Leo hissed, grabbing my arm. The only mistake I made was trusting any of you. I yanked free. But I fixed that too. Nathaniel? My old friend stood up from his seat. The trust fund has been secured and transferred. None of you can touch it now, ever. My father's face turned purple. You little... Choose your next words carefully, Dad. I pointed to the back of the room where 2 police officers had quietly entered. Fraud charges carry serious prison time these days. You'd send your own father to jail? He tried to sound outraged, but I heard the fear beneath it. You tried to steal everything from your own daughter. What do you think? The officers moved forward as the final video played, my father detailing the entire scheme to Leo, complete with contingency plans and money trails. Frankie Garrett, one officer called out, we need you to come with us. The chaos that erupted was almost beautiful. Guests jumping to their feet, phones recording everything, my father trying to push past the officers, Leo making a break for the side door only to be stopped by Nathaniel and 2 security guards. You've ruined everything, Hallie screamed at me. No, my mother's voice cut through the chaos. She stood tall, facing her eldest daughter. You did that yourselves, every single one of you. I watched as the officers led my father away in handcuffs, as Leo was detained for questioning, as Hallie collapsed into a chair sobbing. Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the stunned crowd. I apologize for the deception, but not for the truth. The reception is still on. Consider it a celebration of justice instead of a wedding. Elise appeared at my side with a glass of champagne. That was incredible. It's not over yet. I took the glass. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit will want statements from everyone, and the media's already outside. Are you ready for that? I looked around the room, at the wreckage of what was supposed to be my perfect day, at the faces showing shock, sympathy, and admiration. You know what? I am. I raised my glass. To new beginnings, and to karma. The remaining guests, the true friends, the honest ones, raised their glasses with me. As I sipped my champagne, I caught my mother's eye. She nodded once, proud and sad and relieved all at once. Sometimes, I realized, you have to burn it all down to build something real. The next few hours passed in a blur of police statements and camera flashes. I sat in what was supposed to be the bridal suite, now transformed into an impromptu interview room, as Detective Morris reviewed my evidence. This is impressive work, she said, scrolling through the files on her laptop. Most victims don't document things this thoroughly. I'm not most victims. I'd changed out of my wedding dress into a simple black suit. And I'm not done yet. A knock at the door. Nathaniel entered with a stack of papers. The FBI's here. They're particularly interested in the offshore accounts. Ms. Garrett, Detective Morris leaned forward. Your father's asking to speak with you. No. I stood up, straightening my jacket. He can talk to my lawyers. Another knock, this time it was Elise. You need to see this. She held up her phone, showing a breaking news headline. Society wedding turns to scandal. Prominent businessman arrested for fraud. It's everywhere, she said. Social media's blowing up. People are calling you a hero. I don't feel like a hero. I took the phone, scanning the comments. I feel like someone who just lost their entire family. Not your entire family, my mother said from the doorway. She looked exhausted but determined. I just finished my statement to the FBI, told them everything I know about your father's dealings. Mom, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. It's time I stopped being a coward. She crossed the room and took my hands. I'm so proud of you. The moment was interrupted by shouting from the hallway, Hallie's voice getting closer. She's my sister. You can't keep me out. 2 security guards appeared, restraining her. Her mascara was streaked with tears, her bridesmaid dress wrinkled. Let her in, I said quietly. Hallie stumbled forward as the guards released her. They're taking Dad to federal prison. Leo's being charged with conspiracy. Everything's falling apart. Funny how consequences work, isn't it? You have to help them. We're family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Was it family when you helped Dad plan to steal my inheritance? When you took payments to spy on me? I needed the money. You've always had everything handed to you. I had nothing handed to me. My voice cracked like a whip. That inheritance? I earned it, working 16-hour days at the company while you were partying through college, being the perfect daughter while you did whatever you wanted. Girls, our mother stepped between us. Enough. No, Mom, not enough. I turned back to Hallie. You want to know the difference between us? I would have helped you if you'd asked. I would have shared everything I had. But instead, you chose to steal it. Hallie's face crumpled. What am I supposed to do now? Get a good lawyer. You're going to need one. I nodded to the guards. We're done here. As they led her away, Detective Morris cleared her throat. There's one more thing. Leo's requesting immunity in exchange for information about other schemes your father was running. Of course he is. I wasn't even surprised anymore. Tell him he can rot in jail with the rest of them. Nathaniel touched my arm. The press is waiting outside. Are you ready to make a statement? Actually, I pulled out my phone. I have a better idea. I opened Twitter and started typing. To everyone asking about today's events. Yes, I exposed my own wedding as a fraud. Yes, I had my father arrested. Yes, I caught my fiancé planning to steal my inheritance. And no, I'm not sorry. Are you sure about this? Elise asked as I continued typing. The truth is, I read aloud as I typed, sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who will hurt you the most. But that doesn't mean you have to let them. I hit post and watched as the likes and retweets immediately started rolling in. What now? My mother asked softly. Now? I looked around the room at the people who had stood by me. Elise, Nathaniel, my mother. The ones who chose truth over deception, loyalty over greed. Now we rebuild. But first, I believe there's still a reception happening downstairs. You're not seriously going to... Oh, I am, I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. They wanted a show? Let's give them one. A celebration of justice instead of a wedding, remember? As we walked toward the reception hall, I could hear the music playing, the murmur of voices, the click of cameras. But for the first time in years, I felt completely, utterly free. Ready? Elise asked, linking her arm through mine. Ready, I replied, pushing open the doors. Time to show them what real power looks like. The reception hall fell silent as I entered. Hundreds of eyes turned to watch me walk to the center of the room, where the first dance should have happened. Instead, I took the microphone from the band's lead singer. Thank you all for staying, I said, my voice steady. I know this isn't the celebration you expected. You're damn right it's not. A man stood up, Leo's father. You've destroyed both our families. No, sir, your son and my father did that when they decided to commit fraud. I held up my phone. Would you like to see the video of Leo planning to empty my accounts and flee to the Caymans? He sat down abruptly. I've been getting messages asking why I did this so publicly, I continued. Why not handle it privately? Here's why. I nodded to Elise, who started a new video on the screens. This time, it showed other victims. 3 different women, all telling similar stories about Leo and my father's schemes. Sarah lost her tech company, I narrated as the first woman spoke. Maria lost her inheritance. Rebecca lost her family business. All of them stayed quiet out of shame. All of them were told to handle it privately. The room erupted in whispers as more faces appeared on screen. More victims, more stories. My father and Leo didn't just target me, I said over the growing murmurs. They've been doing this for years, but they picked the wrong target this time. Nathaniel stepped forward with a stack of papers. These are civil suits being filed on behalf of all the victims. The FBI is already freezing accounts and seizing assets. You can't do this, Leo's mother shrieked, standing up. We have rights. Yes, you do. You have the right to remain silent, Detective Morris called out as she entered with more officers, which I suggest you exercise while we discuss your role in these schemes. As they led Leo's parents away, my mother took the microphone. "I enabled this," she announced, her voice shaking slightly. "By staying silent, by looking the other way, I helped them hurt people. That ends today." She turned to me. "My daughter taught me that real strength isn't in keeping secrets, it's in exposing them." Applause broke out, scattered at first, then building. I saw phones recording everything, social media notifications flooding my screen. "The company," someone called out. "What happens to Garrett Industries?" "I'm glad you asked," I smiled. "As of this morning, I've assumed control as CEO. Our first order of business, a victim restitution fund." More applause, more cameras flashing. "But that's not all," I continued. "Elise?" My best friend stepped forward, tablet in hand. "We've uncovered evidence of systematic fraud across multiple industries, names, dates, transactions, everything." "Which means," I took back the microphone, "this isn't just about my wedding anymore. This is about justice for everyone they've hurt." The doors burst open again. Hallie stood there, still in her bridesmaid dress, mascara streaked across her face. "Is this what you wanted?" she screamed. "To destroy everything?" "No, Hallie. This is what you wanted." I kept my voice calm. "You wanted money? Power? Well, congratulations. You're about to be famous, just not the way you planned." The screens showed her bank statements, the payments, the recorded conversations about betraying me. "Take her statement," I nodded to Detective Morris. "She might want to consider cooperating. It could help at sentencing." As they led my sister away, I turned back to the crowd. "The real celebration today isn't about a wedding. It's about truth. About standing up to people who think their power makes them untouchable." I raised my champagne glass. "To justice, to consequences, and to new beginnings." The room erupted in cheers. People stood, raising their glasses, phones still recording every moment. Nathaniel appeared at my side. "The FBI wants to talk to you about the other cases, and the media's going crazy. Your story's trending worldwide." "Good." I handed him my glass. "Let them see what happens when you fight back." "Zur," Elise called out, showing me her phone. "Your tweet just hit 1 million retweets. People are calling you the runaway bride who fought back." I laughed. "I didn't run away, I stood my ground." My mother hugged me tight. "You did more than that. You showed everyone else how to stand their ground too." As the party continued around us, no longer a wedding reception but a celebration of justice, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The truth was finally out, and with it came not just freedom, but power. Real power. The kind they couldn't steal. The kind that comes from standing up and saying, "No more." The sun was setting when I finally left the venue, casting long shadows across the courthouse steps where reporters had gathered. My mother squeezed my hand as we faced the wall of cameras. "Ms. Garrett, how does it feel to take down your own family's criminal empire?" "Not my empire anymore," I said into the microphones. "As of today, Garrett Industries is being restructured into a victim advocacy organization. Every penny they stole will be returned." "What about your sister's claims that you're destroying your family legacy?" "Legacy?" I met the reporter's eyes. "My father's legacy was built on lies and theft. I'm building something better, truth and justice." "And the wedding gifts?" someone called out. "All being returned," Elise answered from beside me, along with a letter explaining how their generosity will help fund legal support for fraud victims. My phone buzzed, a message from Detective Morris. "Leo's talking. Everything. Your father's network is crumbling. Ms. Garrett, what's next for you?" Before I could answer, a commotion erupted at the bottom of the steps. Hallie pushed through the crowd, no longer in her bridesmaid dress but in plain clothes, her face stripped of makeup. "I want to make a statement," she said, her voice raw. The cameras swung toward her. My mother tensed beside me, but I held up a hand. "Let her speak." Hallie stepped forward, trembling but determined. "My sister was right, about everything. I was jealous and greedy, and I helped hurt people." She turned to face me. "I'm sorry, Zuriel. I'm so sorry." "Actions speak louder than words," I replied. "I know, that's why—" She pulled out a folder. "That's why I just gave the FBI everything. Account numbers, contacts, every scheme I knew about. And I'm ready to testify." The reporters erupted with questions. Cameras flashed. But I was watching my sister's eyes. seeing real remorse for the first time. "It's a start," I said quietly. Nathaniel appeared, tablet in hand. "The first restitution payments are going out. Sarah's getting her company back. Maria's inheritance is being restored. Rebecca's family business is being returned." "And Leo?" my mother asked. "Singing like a canary," Detective Morris said, joining us. "Your father's international partners are being arrested as we speak. The whole network's coming down." I felt a tap on my shoulder. Elise was grinning, holding up her phone. On the screen was a video of a young woman, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," the woman was saying. "I lost everything to these men 2 years ago. Watching you fight back, you gave me hope. You gave all of us hope." More messages flooded in, victims sharing their stories, people standing up to their own abusers, women refusing to be silenced. "This is bigger than us now," I told the reporters. "This is about everyone who's ever been told to stay quiet, to handle things privately, to protect powerful men's reputations." "What's your message to those people?" a reporter called out. "Stand up, speak out, document everything." I smiled. "And never let anyone steal your power." Hallie stepped closer. "I want to help, really help, not just with testimony. These victims, maybe I can work with them, show them they're not alone." "You'll have to earn their trust," I said. "And mine." "I know. I'm ready to try." My mother wrapped an arm around each of us. "We all are." As the sun disappeared behind the courthouse, casting the world in shades of purple and gold, I looked at the people around me. My mother, finding her strength. My sister, choosing redemption. My friends, standing firm through everything. "One last question," a reporter shouted. "Do you regret exposing everything so publicly?" I thought about the videos still circulating online, the stories being shared, the victims finding their voices. "No," I said firmly. "Some things need to be dragged into the light. Some truths need to be shouted from the rooftops." I turned to face the cameras one last time. They thought they could silence me with shame. Instead, I'm starting a revolution of truth-tellers. And we're just getting started. The headlines would call it the wedding that brought down an empire. The social media posts would call it justice served. The legal documents would call it the largest fraud exposure in the state's history. But standing there, watching the truth spread like wildfire through every news channel and social platform, I called it something else. I called it freedom. "Ready to go?" Elise asked, car keys in hand. I looked at my mother, strong and proud. At Hallie, humbled but trying. At the crowd of supporters and survivors gathering below. "Yes," I said, "I'm ready for whatever comes next." Because sometimes the happy ending isn't a wedding. Sometimes it's the courage to stop one.
The last person I expected to see standing next to my mother at my father's funeral was my ex-husband. Yet there he was, his arm wrapped possessively around her waist, as if he belonged there. I'm Camilla, and this is how my mother announced her marriage to Dexter, the man who nearly destroyed my life, at my father's funeral. The funeral home buzzed with whispers as mourners filed past my father's casket. I stood greeting them mechanically, my black dress feeling too tight, too restrictive. Trinity, my best friend, hadn't left my side since morning, her steady presence keeping me from completely falling apart. "Your father was a great man," another faceless guest murmured, squeezing my hand. I nodded, the words washing over me like waves I couldn't quite feel anymore. "Camilla!" My mother's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. "A word, please." I turned to face her, noting how perfectly coiffed her hair was, how precisely applied her makeup remained, despite the tears she'd shed earlier. Dexter stood slightly behind her, and my stomach lurched at the sight of his familiar smirk. "What is he doing here?" I hissed, keeping my voice low to avoid causing a scene. "That's what I need to discuss with you." My mother's perfectly manicured hand reached for Dexter's. "Your father knew about this, and he gave us his blessing before he passed." I felt Trinity's hand tighten on my arm. "Knew about what exactly?" My voice sounded distant, even to my own ears. "Dexter and I were married last month," my mother announced, her chin lifting slightly. "We wanted to wait until after the funeral to tell everyone, but I thought you should know first." The room spun. I grabbed the nearest chair for support, my knuckles white against the dark wood. You married my ex-husband, the man who— The past is the past, darling, my mother cut me off smoothly. Your father understood that people can change. Did he understand that Dexter embezzled money from his company? I shot back, my voice rising despite my best efforts to contain it. Or did you conveniently forget to mention that part? Dexter stepped forward, his face a mask of concern that made my skin crawl. Camilla, I know this is a shock, but don't. I held up my hand. Don't you dare speak to me. My brother Leonardo appeared at my side, his face twisted with confusion. What's going on? Ask our mother, I spat. She's full of surprises today. The funeral director approached, his face pinched with worry. Is everything all right here? Everything's fine, my mother assured him, but her eyes were cold when they met mine. My daughter is just overwhelmed with grief. Trinity pulled me away before I could respond, leading me to a quiet corner of the room. Breathe, Cam. Just breathe. She knew, I whispered, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. She knew what he did to me, to the company, and she married him anyway. We'll figure this out, Trinity promised, her hand rubbing circles on my back. But right now, we need to get through this funeral. Your father deserves that much. I nodded, straightening my spine. She was right. This was supposed to be about my father, about honoring his memory. Instead, my mother had turned it into her own twisted announcement party. As I walked back to my position near the casket, I caught sight of Dexter whispering something in my mother's ear, his hand resting possessively on her lower back, the same way he used to touch me before I discovered the truth about his schemes. Leonardo approached me again, his face serious. Tell me what's really going on, Cam. Not here, I murmured, watching as another group of mourners approached. But trust me, Leo, this is worse than you can imagine. The rest of the funeral passed in a blur of handshakes and hollow condolences. I delivered my prepared eulogy on autopilot, speaking about my father's dedication to his business, his family, his legacy. All the while, my mother sat in the front row, Dexter by her side, playing the part of the grieving widow perfectly. As the last of the mourners filed out, I felt something shift inside me. The numbness that had carried me through the day began to crack, revealing a white-hot anger underneath. My father might be gone, but I was still here, and I wouldn't let them destroy everything he'd built. Trinity squeezed my hand. What are you thinking? I watched my mother and Dexter walk to their car, their heads close together in conversation. I'm thinking it's time for some truths to come out. All of them. Whatever you need, Trinity said firmly. I'm with you. I nodded, my jaw set. They thought they had won, that they could use my father's death to legitimize their betrayal. But they had no idea what was coming. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and I was more than ready to assist. 2 days after the funeral, I found myself standing in my father's office, surrounded by the remnants of his life. The leather chair still held the impression of his body, and his reading glasses lay folded on the desk exactly where he'd left them. I can't believe she's not even here to help, Leonardo said, opening another file cabinet. Too busy with her honeymoon, I guess. I snorted, rifling through a stack of papers. Did you expect anything else from her? I still can't wrap my head around it, he admitted. Dexter? Really? After everything he did to you? Everything he did to the company, I corrected, though the personal betrayal still stung. Which is exactly why we need to find those financial records. Trinity walked in with 3 cups of coffee, setting them on the desk. Remember that time Dexter almost had a heart attack when you accessed his laptop? The memory hit me like a bolt of lightning. That's it, his old laptop. Dad kept everything. I moved to the storage closet, pushing aside boxes until I found what I was looking for. The laptop was outdated now, but my father had insisted on keeping it after Dexter's hasty departure 3 years ago. Will it even turn on? Leonardo asked, peering over my shoulder. One way to find out. I plugged it in and pressed the power button. The screen flickered to life. Of course, Dad would use his birthday as the password, I muttered, typing in the numbers. The desktop appeared filled with folders. Trinity leaned in. Look at that one. DT Project Files. My hands shook as I clicked on it. Dozens of documents appeared, including a series of emails between Dexter and an offshore account manager. Holy shit, Leonardo whispered, reading over my shoulder. He was siphoning money from the company's innovation fund, the same fund that was supposed to develop my automated trading algorithm, I said, my voice tight. The one Dad said wasn't profitable enough to pursue. Trinity touched my arm. Cam, look at this email thread. The messages revealed something even worse. My mother had known about the embezzlement for months before I discovered it. She'd helped cover it up, all while watching me struggle to prove my worth to my father. I need some air, I announced, pushing back from the desk, but before I could stand, the office door opened. What are you doing in here? My mother stood in the doorway, Dexter right behind her. Cleaning out Dad's office, I replied coolly. Something you should be helping with instead of playing newlywed. Dexter's eyes locked onto the laptop. Is that your old laptop? Yes. I turned the screen toward them. Want to explain these emails? My mother's face hardened. Those files are company property. You have no right. I have every right. I stood up, anger burning through my veins. I'm on the board now, remember? Dad made sure of that before he died. A decision he clearly made while not thinking clearly, my mother snapped. Like giving his blessing to your marriage? Leonardo interjected. Did he even know, Mom? Really? A flicker of something. Guilt, fear, crossed her face before disappearing. What's done is done. Dexter and I are married, and we both have the company's best interests at heart. Like you had my best interests at heart when you helped him steal my innovation, I demanded. When you watched him take credit for my work. You were never ready for that kind of responsibility, she said dismissively. You're too emotional, too impulsive. That's rich coming from someone who married her daughter's ex-husband. Dexter stepped forward, his face a mask of concern. Camilla, I know you're hurting. Don't, I held up my hand. Don't pretend you care. These emails prove exactly who you are. If you pursue this, my mother warned, you'll destroy everything your father built. No, I corrected her. I'll protect everything he built from people like you. Trinity moved to stand beside me while Leonardo crossed his arms, positioning himself between us and them. Think carefully about your next move, Dexter said, his voice low. Some stones are better left unturned. Is that a threat? I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. It's advice, my mother replied. From someone who loves you. I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet office. Love? You don't know the meaning of the word. They left shortly after, but their threats hung in the air like smoke. I sat back down at the laptop, my hands steady now as I began copying files. What are you going to do? Leonardo asked. I looked at the email thread, at the evidence of their betrayal laid bare in black and white. I'm going to finish what Dad couldn't. I'm going to clean house. Trinity squeezed my shoulder. Whatever you need, we're here. I nodded, already formulating a plan. They thought they could intimidate me into silence, but they'd forgotten one crucial detail. I was my father's daughter, and I'd learned from the best how to fight dirty when necessary. The company's IT department wasn't hard to access with my board member credentials. At 7 a.m., before most employees arrived, I sat with Marcus, our head of cybersecurity, reviewing years of archived data. These access logs are interesting, Marcus said, pointing to his screen. Someone used your login credentials to access the Innovation Fund database multiple times in 2020, usually between 2 and 4 a.m. That wasn't me. I leaned closer. I was in Singapore during those dates, developing the trading algorithm prototype. Marcus nodded. And look at this IP address. It traces back to Dexter's home network. Trinity, who'd been taking notes, looked up. Can you prove he stole your credentials? Better than that, Marcus typed rapidly. I can prove he used your prototype code to develop what he claimed was his own trading system. The timestamps match perfectly. My phone buzzed. A text from Leonardo. Mom's heading to the office. Heads up. Print everything, I told Marcus, and backup copies to my secure drive. We barely had time to collect the documents before my mother's heels clicked down the hallway. She burst into the IT department, her face flushed with anger. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded. I held up my board member ID. "My job. Investigating potential security breaches. You're accessing restricted files without authorization." "Actually," Marcus interjected, "as a board member, Ms. Camilla has full clearance for these files." My mother's eyes narrowed. "Marcus, give us the room." Once we were alone, she dropped her polished facade. "Stop this witch hunt immediately." "Or what?" I challenged. "You'll marry another one of my exes." "You ungrateful child," she hissed. "Everything I've done has been to protect this company." "By protecting a thief? By helping him steal my work?" "Your work?" she laughed coldly. "You mean your father's investment, his resources, his reputation that made it all possible?" "I spent 2 years developing that algorithm," I shot back. "While you and Dexter were busy planning how to steal it." "We did what was necessary," she said. "The board would never have accepted the innovation from you. You were too young, too inexperienced." "So you let Dexter take credit instead? Your daughter's husband?" "Ex-husband," she corrected. "And yes, because he knew how to play the game. Unlike you, always fighting the system instead of working within it." Trinity stepped forward. "The system you're talking about is corrupt." "Stay out of this," my mother snapped. "This is family business." "She is family," I said firmly. "More than you've been lately." My mother's face hardened. "If you continue this investigation, you'll regret it. The board won't take kindly to these accusations." "The board deserves to know the truth." "The truth?" She moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The truth is your father knew about everything. He approved it all." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You're lying." "Am I?" She pulled out her phone, showing me an email. "He signed off on transferring your project to Dexter. He knew you weren't ready." I stared at the email, my father's signature clear at the bottom. "Why?" "Because he understood what was best for the company. For the family." She touched my arm. "Like you need to understand now." I jerked away from her touch. "Don't. Think about it, Camilla. If this comes out, it won't just hurt Dexter and me. It'll destroy your father's legacy. Is that what you want?" Before I could respond, Leonardo appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay here?" "Perfect," my mother said, smoothing her skirt. "Your sister and I were just discussing family loyalty." She left, her perfume lingering in the air like a toxic cloud. I slumped against the desk, the weight of her revelation crushing me. "What did she say?" Trinity asked softly. "My father knew," I whispered. "He helped them steal my work." Leonardo shook his head. "There has to be more to it. Dad wouldn't..." "Wouldn't what? Betray me?" I laughed bitterly. "Apparently that's our family specialty." Marcus cleared his throat from the doorway. "Ms. Camilla, there's something else you should see." He pulled up another set of files on his screen. "These were encrypted, but I managed to access them. They're from your father's private server." As I read through the documents, my hands began to shake. There was more to the story, much more. My father had been playing a longer game than any of us realized. "Oh my God," Trinity breathed, reading over my shoulder. I straightened up, new determination flooding through me. "Marcus, I need copies of everything. And I mean everything." "What are you thinking?" Leonardo asked. I looked at the documents, at the truth hidden within them. "I'm thinking it's time to play the game their way. Mom wants to talk about family loyalty? Let's see how she handles family justice." The encrypted files from my father's server painted a different picture than my mother's version of events. I spread them across my dining room table while Trinity and Leonardo helped piece together the timeline. "Look at this," Leonardo pointed to a dated memo. "Dad started documenting Dexter's suspicious activities 2 years ago." Trinity picked up another document. "And these notes about your mother's involvement, he knew she was helping Dexter." "But why let it happen?" I asked, shuffling through more papers. "Why not stop them? A knock at the door made us all jump. Leonardo checked the security camera feed on his phone. "It's Dexter." "Perfect timing," I muttered, gathering the documents. "Let him in." Dexter strode in like he owned the place, his expensive suit and practiced smile a reminder of everything I'd once fallen for. "Camilla," he said smoothly, "we need to talk." "About how you stole my algorithm? Or about how you married my mother?" His smile didn't waver. "About how you're making a mistake that could hurt everyone involved." "Everyone involved in the theft, you mean?" He sat down uninvited. "Your father understood business. Sometimes the ends justify the means. Is that what you told yourself when you were sleeping with my mother while we were still married?" His facade cracked slightly. "How did you—" "Dad kept records," Leonardo cut in, tossing a dated photo on the table. It showed Dexter and my mother at a hotel, months before our divorce. "Your father was a practical man," Dexter recovered quickly. "He knew the company needed strong leadership. And you think that's you?" I laughed. "A thief and a fraud?" "I think," he leaned forward, "that you're out of your depth. The board trusts me. They respect me." "They respect what they think you created," Trinity corrected. "What about when they learn the truth?" Dexter's eyes narrowed. "You have no proof." I pulled out my laptop, turning it to face him. "Actually, we do. Dad didn't just document your theft. He documented everything." The colour drained from his face as he watched the video playing on screen. Footage from my father's private office showing Dexter and my mother discussing their plan to steal my work. He was testing us, I realised aloud. All of us. Waiting to see who would prove worthy of his legacy. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Dexter warned, standing up. "Your mother. My mother chose her side," I cut him off. "Now I'm choosing mine." He moved toward me, but Leonardo stepped between us. "I think it's time for you to leave." "Think about what you're doing, Camilla," Dexter said from the doorway. "Some things can't be undone." After he left, Trinity touched my arm. "Are you okay?" "I'm better than okay," I said, pulling out more documents. "Look at this." The paper was dated just weeks before my father's death. A revised company charter giving the board power to remove any executive proven to have engaged in corporate espionage or theft of intellectual property. "Dad knew he was dying," Leonardo said softly. "He was setting up safeguards." "Not just safeguards," I corrected. "Insurance. He made sure the truth would come out one way or another." Trinity studied the charter. "The board meeting is next week. Are you ready for this? Ready to expose my mother and ex-husband's betrayal in front of the entire board?" I picked up my father's final letter, his words of encouragement giving me strength. "I've been ready for 3 years. Leonardo's phone buzzed. "Mum's calling." "Don't answer," I said. "Let her wonder, let her worry." "What if she tries to destroy the evidence?" Trinity asked. "She can't," I smiled. "Everything's already been sent to the board members' secure emails, set to unlock the morning of the meeting. Dad's final failsafe." "He really did think of everything," Leonardo marvelled. "Almost everything," I said, looking at the photo of Dexter and my mother. "He didn't expect his wife to betray him like this." "Or maybe he did," Trinity suggested. "Maybe that's why he left you the means to expose them." I gathered the documents, my mind already racing ahead to the board meeting. "They thought they were so clever playing their games in the shadows. But Dad taught me something they forgot." "What's that?" Leonardo asked. "The truth always comes to light," I said, holding up the damning evidence. "And karma? Sometimes it needs a helping hand." We spent the rest of the evening preparing for the board meeting, knowing that in 1 week everything would change. My mother and Dexter thought they'd won, thought they'd secured their position through betrayal and deceit. They were about to learn that my father's legacy wasn't just about business success, it was about justice. And I was my father's daughter, through and through. The day before the board meeting, my mother launched her counterattack. I was reviewing my presentation when Margaret, our head of HR, appeared at my office door. "We need to talk," she said, closing the door behind her. "Your mother just called an emergency executive committee meeting." I checked my watch. "Without notifying all board members?" She's trying to push through a motion to suspend your voting rights, Margaret explained, citing emotional instability following your father's death. My phone buzzed. Leonardo was calling. "Tell me you've heard," he said when I answered. "I'm hearing it now," I replied, putting him on speaker. "Where are you?" "Outside the executive boardroom. Dexter's here with a team of lawyers." Trinity burst into my office waving her tablet. "The encrypted emails just went out early. Someone tried to hack the system." "That would be Dexter," I said, grabbing my laptop. "Margaret, how long until the meeting starts?" 20 minutes. They're gathering now?" I pulled up the security feed of the boardroom. Sure enough, my mother sat at the head of the table, Dexter by her side, surrounded by men in expensive suits. "They're trying to stop tomorrow's meeting before it happens," I realized. "Trinity, call Marcus. Make sure the backup servers are secure." "Already done," she replied. "But Camilla, there's something else. The hack triggered a failsafe in your father's system." "What kind of failsafe?" She turned her tablet toward me. On the screen, dozens of additional documents were unlocking themselves, flooding the board members' inboxes with evidence of not just the algorithm theft, but years of financial manipulation. "Dad really did think of everything," Leonardo said through the speaker. I grabbed my files. "Margaret, can you get me into that meeting?" She smiled. "As head of HR, I'm required to be present for any vote regarding board member status, and I'm allowed to bring counsel." 10 minutes later, I walked into the boardroom with Margaret and Trinity flanking me. The conversation stopped dead. "This is a closed meeting," my mother said sharply. "Actually," Margaret stepped forward, "company bylaws require HR presence for any vote regarding board member status. Article 7, Section 3. And as the board member in question," I added, "I have the right to defend myself." Dexter leaned forward. "This isn't necessary, Camilla. We're only trying to help." "Help yourselves, you mean?" I connected my laptop to the room's display system. "Like you helped yourself to my algorithm?" "That's enough," my mother stood. "You're proving our point about your emotional state." "Am I?" I clicked a button and the screen filled with evidence. "Because these documents tell a different story." One of the lawyers cleared his throat. "What exactly are we looking at?" "Proof of intellectual property theft," I said, "along with evidence of a long-term conspiracy to defraud the company." "These documents weren't meant to be released yet," Dexter said quickly. "They're part of a malicious, part of my father's fail-safe system," I corrected, "triggered by your attempted hack of the company's servers an hour ago." The room erupted in murmurs as board members checked their phones, finding their inboxes full of damning evidence. "This is ridiculous," my mother declared. "These documents could be fabricated." "Like your marriage license?" I projected it onto the screen. "Dated 3 months before Dad's death, not after like you claimed." The colour drained from her face. "How did you—" "Dad kept records of everything," I said, "including your hotel meetings with Dexter while he was still my husband." One of the board members stood up. "I move to postpone this vote pending review of these new documents." "Seconded," another called out. My mother's carefully constructed facade began to crack. "You have no idea what you're doing." "Actually, I do." I played the video of her and Dexter planning the theft. "I'm finishing what Dad started." "Your father," Dexter began. "My father knew everything." I cut him off. "He documented everything, and he made sure the truth would come out." The lawyers huddled together, whispering urgently. Board members were already leaving the room, phones pressed to their ears. "Tomorrow's board meeting will proceed as scheduled," Margaret announced. "All voting rights remain intact." My mother grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. "You'll regret this." I pulled free of her grip. "No, Mom, you'll regret underestimating me, just like you underestimated Dad." Outside the boardroom, Trinity hugged me tight. "That was amazing." "It's not over yet," I reminded her. "Tomorrow's the real battle." Leonardo joined us, grinning. "Did you see their faces when that video played?" I checked my phone. More documents were still unlocking, revealing deeper layers of deception. Dad didn't just leave us a way to expose them, I realized. He left us a way to take back everything they stole. "Ready for tomorrow?" Trinity asked. I watched my mother and Dexter through the boardroom windows, their perfect world crumbling around them. More than ready? It's time for justice. The morning of the board meeting, I found a manila envelope on my doorstep. Inside was a single photograph, my father and me at my college graduation, both of us beaming at the camera. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, "Don't do this to his memory." "Another attempt at manipulation," Trinity said, examining the photo over coffee in my kitchen. "She's getting desperate." "She should be." Leonardo walked in, straightening his tie. "The shareholders are already calling for an emergency meeting." My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Dexter tried to access the servers again last night. Everything's secure." "They're running out of options," I said, gathering my presentation materials, "which makes them dangerous." We arrived at the company headquarters an hour early. The lobby was already buzzing with activity, board members and executives arriving in groups, whispering among themselves. "Camilla." Dexter appeared beside me as I waited for the elevator. "We need to talk, privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of everyone at the meeting." "Please." His voice cracked slightly. 5 minutes. I nodded to Trinity and Leonardo to go ahead. 5 minutes. Dexter led me to a quiet corner of the lobby. "Your mother is devastated." "Devastated she got caught, you mean?" "She loves you," he insisted. "Everything she did was to protect the company, your father's legacy." "By stealing my work? By marrying my ex-husband?" He ran a hand through his hair. "It's complicated. Actually, it's very simple." I pulled out my tablet. "You stole my algorithm. You and my mother conspired to push me out. And now you're both going to face the consequences." "I can make this right," he said quickly. "I'll give you credit for the algorithm, full credit. We can say it was a collaborative project." I laughed. "You really don't get it, do you? This isn't about credit anymore." "Then what do you want? Money? A bigger position in the company?" "I want justice," I said simply. "For me, for my father, for every person you've stepped on to get where you are." His face hardened. "Your mother was right. You are too emotional for business." "No," I corrected him. "I'm just not willing to sacrifice my integrity for it." The elevator dinged, and board members poured out. Among them was my mother, looking perfectly composed, despite everything. "Last chance," Dexter warned. "Think about what this will do to the family." "I am thinking about family," I replied, "just not the way you define it." The boardroom was packed when I entered. Trinity had set up my presentation and Leonardo sat ready with the additional documentation. Marcus stood by the tech console, ensuring no last-minute technical difficulties would interrupt us. My mother took her seat at the head of the table. "Before we begin, I'd like to address the disturbing allegations that have been circulating." "Actually," one of the senior board members interrupted, "we'd like to hear from Camilla first." I stood, connecting my tablet to the display. "What I'm about to show you isn't just about a stolen algorithm. It's about a pattern of deception that goes back years." "This is absurd," my mother protested. "We've already discussed." "We've discussed what you wanted us to hear," another board member cut in. "Now we'll hear the full story. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The theft of my work, the financial manipulation, the carefully orchestrated deception. With each revelation, my mother's facade cracked further, while Dexter's smug expression turned to barely concealed panic. The algorithm in question, I pulled up the original code, was developed by me during my time in Singapore. Here's the proof of concept, dated and verified. "This is circumstantial," Dexter argued. Anyone could have written this." I entered a command, and the screen filled with my father's private notes. "Dad documented everything, including your late-night meetings to plan how to steal my work." My mother stood abruptly. "This meeting is over." "Actually," Leonardo spoke up, "according to company bylaws, it's not. Not until we vote." "Vote on what?" she demanded. "Your removal," I said quietly. "Both of you, for corporate espionage and breach of fiduciary duty." The room erupted in discussion. Through it all, my mother stared at me, her expression a mix of fury and something else. Fear. Before we vote, I continued, there's one more thing you should see. I played my father's final video message, recorded days before his death. As his voice filled the room, explaining how he'd discovered their betrayal and set up the failsafes, I watched my mother sink back into her chair, finally understanding the full scope of what she'd lost. The truth was out. Now it was time for justice. My father's face filled the boardroom screen, his voice steady despite his illness. If you're watching this, it means my daughter has discovered what I've known for some time, that my wife and Dexter have betrayed not just her trust, but the trust of this entire company. The room was dead silent. Even the usual typing and whispers had ceased. I've watched them steal my daughter's work, he continued. I've documented their deception, their manipulation, and I've waited, testing their character and testing my daughter's strength. My mother's hands gripped the armrests of her chair, knuckles white. Camilla. My father's eyes seemed to look directly at me. I'm sorry I put you through this, but I needed to know you could fight for what's yours, that you could stand up against those who would take it from you. Tears threatened, but I blinked them back. Trinity squeezed my hand under the table. To the board. My father's tone grew firmer. You'll find complete documentation of everything I've discovered in the files accompanying this video. The choice of how to proceed is yours, but remember, this company was built on innovation and integrity, not theft and deception. The video ended. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Dexter stood up, straightening his jacket. This is clearly a manipulated video. The timestamps and metadata have been verified, Marcus interrupted, by 3 independent experts. This is ridiculous, my mother snapped. You can't possibly believe that you helped steal your daughter's intellectual property. One of the board members, Patricia, leaned forward. Or that you married her ex-husband while conspiring to push her out of the company? Everything I did was for this company, my mother insisted. No, I stood up. Everything you did was for yourself and for him. I nodded toward Dexter, who was already edging toward the door. Sit down, Dexter, Leonardo called out. We're not finished. I think we are, Dexter replied, reaching for the door handle. If you leave this room, Patricia warned, you'll be admitting guilt. All of it. He paused, hand on the door. You have no proof of financial wrongdoing. I clicked to the next slide. Actually, we do. Dad didn't just document the algorithm theft. He tracked every penny you embezzled through offshore accounts. The colour drained from his face as bank statements and transfer records filled the screen. The SEC has already been notified, Leonardo added. They're very interested in speaking with both of you. My mother stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. You ungrateful child. After everything I've sacrificed. Sacrificed? I cut her off. Like my marriage, my career, my relationship with my father? Your father, she spat, was weak. He couldn't see what needed to be done to keep this company strong. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Patricia cleared her throat. I think we've heard enough. Shall we proceed with the vote? This is a witch hunt, Dexter protested, but his voice shook. No, I corrected him. This is karma. The vote was unanimous. Within minutes, security arrived to escort them from the building. As my mother passed me, she paused. You'll regret this, she hissed. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done, I replied. I've taken back what's mine. After they left, Patricia turned to me. The algorithm, can you implement it? I nodded, pulling up the original code. I can have it running within weeks. It's already been tested and proven in Singapore. Then I moved to appoint Camilla as head of innovation and technology, another board member proposed. All in favour? The ayes were unanimous. As the meeting concluded, Trinity hugged me tight. Your father would be so proud. He is proud, Leonardo said, holding up his phone. Look what I found in his personal files. It was a photo I'd never seen before, Dad in his office, watching through the window as I presented my first project to the board. His face glowed with pride. Ms. Camilla, Marcus appeared at my side. The police are here. They'd like to speak with you about pressing charges. I looked at the empty chairs where my mother and Dexter had sat, their abandoned coffee cups still warm. Tell them I'll be right there. Are you okay? Trinity asked softly. I touched the screen where my father's image had been, remembering his words about integrity and strength. I'm better than okay. I'm free. As we left the boardroom, employees lined the hallway, many of them applauding. They'd watched Dexter take credit for others' work for years, seen my mother's manipulation up close. Ready to build something new? Leonardo asked as we walked. I smiled, thinking of all the innovations I'd put on hold, all the ideas I'd been afraid to share. More than ready. It's time to show them what real leadership looks like. The truth had finally come to light, and with it, a new chapter was beginning. Not just for me, but for everyone who'd ever been silenced by power and greed. The headlines splashed across every business journal. Tech prodigy reclaims stolen algorithm, and mother-son duo face federal charges in corporate espionage case. But I wasn't reading any of them. Instead, I sat in my father's old office, my office now, reviewing applications for our new innovation incubator program. Trinity burst through the door, waving her tablet. They took the plea deal. I looked up from my desk. Both of them. Dexter rolled on your mother first, she said, dropping into a chair. Then she had no choice but to cooperate. Leonardo appeared in the doorway. Just got off the phone with the lawyers. Dexter's facing 5 years, Mom's getting 3, plus they have to repay everything they stole. How much? I asked. 7 million, he grinned. Plus interest. A knock at the door interrupted us. Patricia entered with a young woman I didn't recognize. Camilla, this is Sarah. She's the programmer who tried to report Dexter's theft last year and was fired for it. Sarah stepped forward nervously. I saw what you did, standing up to them. It gave me courage to come forward with others. Others? I asked. 17 so far, Patricia said. All with similar stories of having their work stolen or being silenced. I stood up, walking to my father's old whiteboard where I'd mapped out my original algorithm. Sarah, what was your project? A sustainable energy tracking system, she said, eyes lighting up. It could revolutionize how companies monitor their carbon footprint. I erased the board. Show me. For the next hour, Sarah outlined her project while I took notes. Trinity and Leonardo chimed in with questions, and Patricia watched with approval. This is exactly what the innovation program needs, I said when Sarah finished. Real innovators, supported and credited for their work. Speaking of credit, Trinity handed me a letter. The patent office confirmed it. The algorithm is officially registered in your name. I traced my fingers over my name on the document, remembering all the nights I'd spent developing it, all the times I'd tried to prove its worth. There's something else, Leonardo said softly. We found this in Dad's personal safe. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter dated just days before his death. My dearest Camilla, I read aloud, by now you've discovered the truth and taken back what's yours. I'm sorry for the pain this caused you, but I needed to know you would fight for what's right, not just what's easy. My voice caught, but I continued. You were never the weak one. You were always the strongest of us all. Your mother and Dexter saw only power, but you saw possibility. That's why you'll succeed where they failed. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. The company is changing, I said, looking up from the letter. Starting today, we protect innovators, not exploit them. The board approved your full proposal, Patricia confirmed. The innovation incubator, the mentorship program, everything. And the first project? Trinity asked with a knowing smile. I turned to Sarah. How would you like to head up our sustainable energy division? Her eyes widened. Really? Really? I nodded. With full credit and patent rights for your work. As Sarah hugged me, tears flowing freely now, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother's number. You think you've won, but you'll never be me. I showed it to Leonardo. He shook his head. She still doesn't get it. No, I replied to the text. I'll be better. I blocked her number and turned back to the whiteboard. Sarah, let's hear more about this energy tracking system. I have some ideas for expansion. As we worked, I caught sight of my reflection in the office window, standing exactly where my father used to stand, leading with integrity just as he'd hoped I would. Trinity nudged me. You okay? I looked around the room, at Sarah sketching excitedly on the board, at Leonardo and Patricia discussing implementation plans, at the pile of applications from other innovators seeking a chance to be heard. You know what? I smiled. For the first time in years, I really am. The sun set over the city skyline, casting long shadows through the office windows. But unlike the shadows of deceit that had darkened these halls before, these shadows held promise of innovation, of integrity, of justice served and wrongs made right. My father had given me the tools to fight back, but the strength to use them? That had been mine all along, and now, finally, everyone knew it. Let's get to work, I said, picking up a marker. We've got a company to rebuild.
I stared at my phone in disbelief, reading the message for the 5th time. My hands were trembling. Congratulations! You've been shortlisted for the Senior Marketing Strategist position. Interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. A job I hadn't even applied for, at one of the most prestigious companies in the city, where my brother Benjamin worked. I'm Leah, and that message would change everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. This is incredible, I exclaimed to my best friend Jasmine over FaceTime. But why such short notice? The interview's literally tomorrow morning. Maybe someone dropped out, Jasmine suggested, adjusting her glasses. Girl, this is your chance. You've been wanting to leave that soul-crushing agency for months. I nodded, already pulling up the company website. Benjamin must have recommended me. He's been there for 3 years now. A warm feeling spread through my chest. Despite our competitive childhood, maybe he finally saw my worth. The next morning, I arrived 45 minutes early, my portfolio polished and my navy blazer perfectly pressed. The lobby buzzed with energy, all glass and chrome and purpose. I smoothed my skirt for the 100th time when a tall man with silver hair approached. Ms. Watson, I'm Joseph from HR. Please follow me. The interview room felt colder than the Arctic. Joseph's expression remained frozen as he flipped through my portfolio, barely glancing at the award-winning campaigns I'd crafted. It says here you have experience in digital marketing, he said, his tone dripping with skepticism. But your resume shows gaps in social media strategy. I blinked. Actually, I led 3 viral campaigns last year. That's not what we've heard, he cut me off. We received some interesting feedback about your capabilities. My stomach dropped. Something wasn't right. The questions that followed were brutal, focusing on imaginary weaknesses and fabricated shortcomings. By the time I left the room, my confidence lay in shreds around my feet. Needing a moment to compose myself, I ducked into the bathroom on the executive floor. A wrong turn that would reveal everything. You should have seen her face, Benjamin's voice echoed from around the corner. When HR asked about those performance issues I mentioned, laughter followed. Man, that's cold, someone responded. Your own sister? Please. She's always been the golden child, thinking she's better than everyone else. Had to teach her a lesson, you know? Besides, we can't have her showing me up here too. My blood turned to ice. The portfolio I was clutching fell to the floor with a soft thud. Seriously though, the other voice continued, making up those complaints and arranging a fake interview. That's pretty harsh. It's called strategy, Benjamin replied smugly. Now she'll never try to get her foot in the door here again. I pressed my back against the cold wall, my heart hammering. The brother I'd grown up with, the one I'd helped through college breakups and career crises, had deliberately set me up to fail. My phone buzzed, a rejection email already. Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to pursue other candidates. Jasmine called minutes later as I sat in my car, trying to breathe normally. How did it go? Benjamin set me up. My voice cracked.
He arranged a fake interview just to humiliate me. That snake! Jasmine's outrage crackled through the speaker. Please tell me you're not going to let him get away with this? I watched employees stream in and out of the building, my brother's words echoing in my head. The golden child. Had to teach her a lesson. My hands stopped shaking as a different kind of fire started burning in my chest. No, I said quietly. I'm not. What are you going to do? I straightened in my seat, watching Benjamin exit the building for his lunch break, laughing with his colleagues like he hadn't just betrayed his own sister. I'm going to prove him right, I said, my voice steady now. He thinks I'm better than everyone else. Fine. I'll show him exactly how much better I can be. And this time, I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for me. Now that's the Leah I know, Jasmine said. Where do we start? I pulled out my laptop, opening a new document. First, we research. I'm going to learn everything there is to know about this company, their challenges, their competitors, their future plans. Benjamin thinks he knows strategy. He hasn't seen anything yet. As I drove away from the building that morning, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back wasn't broken, she was awakened. Sometimes betrayal doesn't destroy you, it ignites something far more dangerous. Determination. 2 months after the fake interview disaster, I found myself standing in front of my bedroom mirror, adjusting a sleek black dress. Sticky notes and printouts covered every surface of my apartment. Company reports, news articles, and sustainability initiatives. I'd become a walking encyclopedia of Benjamin's company. You sure about this? Jasmine asked, perched on my bed. Crashing a charity gala is pretty bold. I'm not crashing, I corrected, applying a final coat of lipstick. I bought a ticket, legitimately, with 3 months' worth of coffee money. Best investment I've ever made. I grabbed my clutch. The company's CEO, Virginia, always attends this environmental gala. It's my chance to get noticed, the right way this time. The venue sparkled with elegant decorations and even more elegant people. I recognized faces from my research, board members, department heads, and there, Virginia Price herself, commanding attention in a deep green gown. Well, if it isn't my favorite stalker, a male voice said behind me. I turned to find a familiar face, one of the voices from that day in the hallway. Weston, I said, remembering his name from my research. Enjoying the party? He raised an eyebrow. You know my name? I make it my business to know things. I sipped my champagne. Like how your department's struggling with the new sustainability requirements. His smile faltered. How did you... The same way I know your team's missing deadlines because the current strategy ignores Gen Z's social media habits. I met his gaze. I'm Benjamin's sister, by the way. The one he tried to humiliate. Recognition flickered across his face. Look, about that day. Save it, I cut him off. I'm not here for apologies. I'm here because I have solutions your company needs. Before he could respond, a commotion near the stage drew our attention. Virginia was preparing to give her speech. The future of business lies in sustainable practices, she began. But sustainability isn't just about the environment. It's about sustainable relationships, sustainable growth, and sustainable social impact, I whispered along with her, having memorized her previous speeches. Weston shot me a surprised look. You really did do your homework. After the speech, I positioned myself near the drinks table, waiting for my moment. Virginia approached, and I deliberately reached for the same glass of water. Oh, I'm sorry, I said, withdrawing my hand. Please, go ahead, she smiled. I shook my head. Actually, I'd love your thoughts on something first if you have a moment. Your point about sustainable relationships resonated with me, especially regarding Gen Z consumer behavior. Her eyes sharpened with interest. Go on. Your recent initiatives are brilliant, but they're missing a crucial connection point. I pulled up a quick graph on my phone, one of many I'd prepared. See this engagement drop? It's not about the message, it's about the medium. Fascinating. Virginia leaned closer. And you are? Leah, I'm actually... Virginia. Benjamin's voice cut through the conversation like a knife. He appeared beside us, face flushed. I see you've met my sister. Your sister? Virginia's eyebrows rose. The one who interviewed for the marketing position. Benjamin's smile turned brittle. There must be some mistake. Leah was never seriously considered for... Actually, I interrupted smoothly, I'd love to formally present these findings to your team. The data suggests you're losing millions in untapped market potential. Virginia studied me for a long moment, then pulled out her business card. Email me your proposal. I'm intrigued. As she walked away, Benjamin grabbed my arm. What do you think you're doing? I pulled free. Proving my worth. Isn't that what you wanted? You're making a fool of yourself, he hissed. No, Benjamin. You already tried that approach, remember? I straightened my dress. Now I'm doing what you were always afraid I'd do. I'm showing everyone exactly what I'm capable of. Is everything okay here? Weston appeared at my side, his presence a silent warning to Benjamin. Perfect, I smiled. Benjamin was just leaving. As my brother stormed off, Weston turned to me. You should know, there's more going on in the company than what's public. The sustainability department is just the tip of the iceberg. What do you mean? He glanced around nervously. Not here, but if you're serious about this, I might be able to help. I studied him carefully. Why would you help me? Let's just say I'm not a fan of watching talent get crushed by ego. He handed me his card. Call me tomorrow. As I left the gala that night, Virginia's business card felt like it was burning a hole in my clutch. Phase 1 of my plan had worked better than I'd hoped, but Weston's warning echoed in my mind. I pulled out my phone to text Jasmine. How did it go? She asked immediately. Better than expected, I replied, but I think I just stepped into something much bigger than sibling rivalry. The coffee shop buzzed with morning energy as I waited for Weston. My laptop displayed the proposal I'd stayed up all night perfecting for Virginia. 3 empty cups testified to my dedication. Someone's been busy, Weston said, sliding into the seat across from me. His tie was slightly crooked, and he had dark circles under his eyes. Rough morning? I asked. Rough week. Benjamin's been on a warpath since the gala. He ordered an espresso. But that's not why I asked to meet. I closed my laptop. You mentioned something bigger going on. The company's facing a crisis. He lowered his voice. The sustainability initiative. It's failing. Bad numbers are being covered up, and Benjamin's department is right in the middle of it. My heart raced. How do you know this? I work in data analytics. Numbers don't lie, even when people do. He pulled out his phone, showing me a spreadsheet. See these discrepancies? Someone's cooking the books to hide massive losses in the green energy division. And Benjamin knows about this? He's not just aware, he's actively helping cover it up. Your brother's gotten very good at making bad things look good on paper. My phone buzzed. An email from Virginia. Meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring your proposal. Perfect timing, Weston said. Virginia suspects something's wrong but can't prove it. Your presentation could be the perfect cover to expose everything. I shook my head. I wanted to prove my worth, not destroy my brother's career. He didn't show you the same courtesy, Weston reminded me. Before I could respond, Jasmine burst into the coffee shop, waving her phone. Leah, you need to see this. She thrust her phone at me. It showed an internal company memo, somehow leaked online. My heart stopped when I read it. Previous hiring decisions under review, I read aloud. All recent rejections to be reassessed for potential bias or misconduct. They're investigating the interviews. Including yours, Jasmine said triumphantly. Weston cursed under his breath. This changes everything. Benjamin will try to destroy any evidence of what he did. He already tried destroying me, I said, my voice hard. How'd that work out for him? My phone rang. Benjamin. I answered on speaker. What did you do? He demanded. Me? I'm not the one who faked performance complaints and rigged an interview. You have no idea what you're messing with, he hissed. Back off, Leah, for your own good. Or what? You'll try to humiliate me again? This isn't about you anymore. His voice cracked. There are bigger things at stake, like the cooked books in your department, I shot back. The line went silent for a moment. Who told you about that? You're not the only one who knows how to gather intel, brother. Listen to me very carefully. His voice turned deadly serious. You present that proposal tomorrow, and I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I laughed. Funny, I was about to say the same thing to you. After hanging up, I turned to find both Weston and Jasmine staring at me. That was badass, Jasmine grinned. And dangerous, Weston added. He's desperate now. Desperate people do stupid things. I opened my laptop again, pulling up my presentation. Then we better make sure my proposal is bulletproof. We worked through the afternoon, Weston providing insider insights while Jasmine helped polish the delivery. By evening, I had something that would either make my career or blow everything wide open. You sure about this? Jasmine asked as we packed up. Once you start this, there's no going back. Benjamin crossed that line when he decided to sabotage me, I replied. Besides, if what Weston says is true, this is bigger than our sibling rivalry. The company's sustainability claims affect real people making real investments. Weston touched my arm. Be careful tomorrow. Benjamin might try something desperate. Let him try, I said, but my confidence wavered as I remembered his threat. Later that night, as I rehearsed my presentation one final time, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Some family secrets should stay buried. Tomorrow's presentation would be a good time for a technical failure. I showed the message to Jasmine over FaceTime. They're trying to scare you, she said. Don't let them win. I stared at my reflection in the darkened window, remembering the humiliation of that first interview. They already played their best card, and I'm still standing. What's the plan? I smiled, thinking of the backup drives and cloud copies of my presentation. Tomorrow, I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve, the truth in all its uncomfortable glory. As I set my alarm for the next morning, another text came through. Last warning, back out now. I typed back a single response. See you tomorrow, brother. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like ascending to a gladiator arena. My presentation USB stick weighed heavy in my pocket, one of 3 copies I'd brought, along with cloud backup. Jasmine's voice echoed in my head. Paranoid, maybe, prepared, definitely. The conference room door opened before I could reach for it. Benjamin stood there, looking perfectly composed in his designer suit. Good morning, sister dear, he smiled, all teeth. Need help setting up? I've got it covered, I replied, clutching my laptop closer. Insist, I insist. He reached for my computer. As head of the department, it's my responsibility to ensure everything runs smoothly. Step away from the laptop, Benjamin. Weston appeared behind me, coffee cups in hand. I'm handling the technical setup today, executive orders. Benjamin's smile flickered. Since when? Since Virginia specifically requested it this morning. Weston handed me a coffee. Speaking of which, shouldn't you be preparing your own presentation? As Benjamin stalked away, I whispered, Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Weston muttered. Look who's here. Joseph from HR walked in, his face as stern as I remembered from the interview. He was followed by several board members, then Virginia herself. Leah, Virginia smiled warmly. We're eager to hear your thoughts on our sustainability initiatives. I connected my laptop while Weston stood guard. The screen flickered to life, showing my title slide. So far, so good. Before we begin, Benjamin interrupted, I think it's important to note that my sister has no official capacity here. Your sister, Virginia cut in, has demonstrated remarkable insight into our challenges. Please, Leah, proceed. I took a deep breath and launched into my presentation. Your current sustainability program isn't just underperforming, it's actively misleading stakeholders. The room tensed. I clicked to the next slide, showing a graph. These are your published figures, I continued. And these... Another click. Are the real numbers buried in subsidiary reports and creative accounting? Benjamin's chair scraped back. This is ridiculous. She has no access to internal... Actually, Weston stood up. These figures are accurate. My department verified them this morning. Virginia leaned forward, her eyes intense. Continue, Leah. I walked them through the discrepancies, the hidden losses, the manipulated data. With each slide, Benjamin's face grew paler. Joseph scribbled furious notes. Then my screen went black. Technical difficulties? Benjamin smirked. Funny thing about preparation, I smiled back, pulling out my USB. I always bring backups. Before I could plug it in, Benjamin snatched it. This is corporate espionage. She's trying to... Upload to cloud backup complete. Weston's voice rang out. He held up his phone. Everything's already shared with the board's secure server. Virginia stood up. I think we need a break. Benjamin, Joseph, my office, now. As they filed out, Weston touched my shoulder. You okay? I nodded, though my hands were shaking. Did you see his face? The face of someone watching their house of cards collapse? Yeah. He checked his phone. Jasmine's downstairs. She's been texting me updates about the company's stock price all morning. Why are you helping me? I finally asked. Really? Weston sat on the edge of the table. 2 years ago, I noticed similar discrepancies, tried to report them. Benjamin buried my concerns and had me transferred to a dead-end position. I've been waiting for a chance to set things right. The door burst open. Benjamin stormed in, his composure shattered. Happy now, he snarled. You've ruined everything. You ruined it yourself, I replied. I just exposed the truth. The truth? He laughed bitterly. The truth is, you've always been like this. Little Miss Perfect. Always having to prove you're better than everyone else. No, Benjamin. The truth is, you've always been so afraid of being outshined that you'd rather cheat than compete fairly. Compete fairly, in this industry. He stepped closer. You have no idea how things really work. Actually, Virginia's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway, Joseph behind her. I think Leah understands exactly how things should work. Benjamin, security will escort you to clear out your desk. You're firing me over some cooked numbers, over fraud, deliberate misconduct, and creating a hostile work environment. Virginia turned to me. Leah, we'll need you to stay. There's much to discuss. As security led Benjamin away, he stopped beside me. Congratulations, sis. You won. I hope it was worth destroying our family. I watched him leave, victory tasting more bitter than I'd expected. Weston squeezed my shoulder. You did the right thing, he said softly. Then why doesn't it feel like winning? Because it's not over yet, Virginia called from the doorway. We need someone to clean up this mess, someone who understands both the problems and the solutions. She smiled. Interested in a job, Leah? 1 week into my new role as Sustainability Strategy Director, I found myself staring at Benjamin's old office, now mine. The nameplate had just been changed, and the irony wasn't lost on me. Still feel surreal? Weston asked, leaning against the doorframe. Everything in here screams Benjamin, I said, picking up a framed photo of our family from his desk drawer. Mom, Dad, Benjamin and me at his college graduation. God, what am I going to tell our parents? They called the office again this morning, Weston said quietly. Benjamin hasn't been answering his phone. My stomach twisted. Have you heard anything? Just rumors. He's been spotted at competitor companies trying to... A commotion outside interrupted us. Benjamin's voice carried through the office. Where is she? Leah. I stepped out of the office to find my brother, disheveled and unshaven, being blocked by security. Let him through, I said. The guards hesitated but stepped aside. Benjamin stormed toward me, his tie loose and hair unkempt. Enjoying your victory? He spat. My apartment's being repossessed, my reputation's ruined, and Mum and Dad won't stop calling. You did this to yourself, I replied, but my voice wavered. Did I? He laughed harshly. You know what's funny? I only sabotaged that interview because I knew you'd be better at this job than me. And look, I was right. Benjamin, save it. You want to know what it feels like to be the family disappointment. Well, now I know how you felt all those years, living in my shadow. Your shadow? I stepped closer. I never lived in your shadow. You just convinced yourself I did. Really? Perfect Leah with her perfect grades and perfect career. Perfect, I exploded. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college while you coasted on Dad's connections. I earned everything I have. The office had gone silent, everyone watching our family drama unfold. And now you've earned my life too, he said bitterly. Congratulations. That's enough. Virginia's voice cut through the tension. Benjamin, you're trespassing. You don't understand, he turned to her. She's my little sister. I was supposed to protect her, guide her. Instead, His voice broke. Instead, you tried to destroy her career, Virginia finished, and in doing so, revealed your own misconduct. Security, please escort him out. As the guards approached, Benjamin pulled something from his pocket, a USB drive. You think you found all the evidence? He dangled it. There's enough dirt on here to bury half the executive board. Weston stepped forward. Don't do this, man. Why not? My career's already over. Might as well go out with a bang. I moved between Benjamin and the guards. Wait, everyone, please give us a minute. When the others reluctantly backed away, I faced my brother. Remember when I was 10 and I broke Mom's favorite vase? I asked softly. He frowned. What? You took the blame, said you did it while playing ball inside. You were grounded for 2 weeks. You were crying, he said quietly. I couldn't stand seeing you cry. What happened to that brother, the one who protected me? His hand holding the USB drive trembled. He grew up, realized the world doesn't reward kindness. No, I took a step closer. He got scared of not being enough, just like I was scared when you sabotaged my interview. Leah. But we're not kids anymore, Benjamin. This USB drive, it won't fix anything. It'll just hurt more people, including yourself. Tears welled in his eyes. I don't know how to fix this. Start by giving me the drive. I held out my hand. Let me help you, like you used to help me. The office remained deathly quiet as Benjamin stared at the USB drive. Finally, his shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, he whispered, placing it in my palm. I'm so sorry, Leah. As security gently led him out, Virginia approached me. That USB drive could be valuable evidence, she said. I looked at the small device in my hand. Or it could be blank, a desperate man's last bluff. She studied me carefully. And if it's not blank, then maybe, I met her gaze, maybe there's a way to fix things without destroying more lives, including my brother's. Virginia nodded slowly. You have 1 week to propose a solution. Make it count. After she left, Weston touched my arm. You okay? I looked at the family photo still on my desk, then at the USB drive that could either salvage or shatter what remained of my relationship with Benjamin. No, I admitted, but I will be. First, I need to make a call. To whom? I picked up my phone. Our parents. It's time they knew the truth, all of it. The boardroom hummed with tension as I connected my laptop to the projector. Every executive seat was filled, including one by my father, who sat stone-faced beside Virginia. After my call home, he'd been appointed as an independent advisor to oversee the company's restructuring. You don't have to do this, Weston whispered, helping me set up. Yes, I do. I straightened my blazer. It's the only way forward. The door opened, and Benjamin walked in, escorted by security. He looked better than last week, clean-shaven, suit pressed. Our eyes met briefly before he took his assigned seat. Thank you all for coming, I began. Last week's revelations about our sustainability program exposed serious issues. Today, I'm presenting not just problems, but solutions. I clicked to the first slide. The USB drive my brother tried to use as leverage. I reviewed its contents. The fraud went deeper than we thought, but it also revealed opportunities. Benjamin shifted uncomfortably. Dad's expression remained unreadable. Instead of hiding our sustainability failures, I continued, we have a chance to transform them into industry-leading successes. Here's how. The next hour was the most intense of my career. I laid out a comprehensive plan, transparent reporting, innovative green technologies, and community engagement programs. With each slide, I could feel the room's energy shifting. This all sounds promising, Virginia interjected, but the cost will be offset by the tax incentives and increased investor confidence, I finished. Plus, we'll avoid potential SEC penalties, which would be substantial, Dad finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of 40 years in corporate law. The evidence on that drive could trigger federal investigations. Benjamin stood up abruptly. You showed him the files? She showed me everything, Dad replied, including your original interview sabotage, son. The room went silent. Benjamin's face flushed. The question, I pressed on, isn't about past mistakes. It's about future solutions. Benjamin? All eyes turned to my brother as I gestured for him to join me at the front. What are you doing? He whispered. Giving you a chance to fix this, I replied. You know these programs better than anyone. Help me make them work. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then, slowly, he turned to face the board. Leah's right, he said, his voice gaining strength. I helped hide these problems because I thought exposure would destroy us. But her plan, it could actually work. The renewable energy division I've been managing. We've been sitting on breakthrough technology, afraid to implement it because of cost concerns. He grabbed a marker and started sketching on the whiteboard. If we redirect funds from these shell programs into actual development, for the next 30 minutes, Benjamin and I tag-teamed the presentation. It felt like we were kids again, finishing each other's sentences, building on each other's ideas. The board members leaned forward, engaged. This is impressive, Virginia said finally, but it requires complete transparency about past misconduct. I'll take full responsibility, Benjamin straightened. No more covers, no more lies. Not alone, you won't, I interjected. We do this as a team or not at all. Dad cleared his throat. The board will need time to consider. No, Virginia stood up. We don't need time. We need action. Leah, Benjamin, you have full authorization to implement this plan, effective immediately. After the meeting, Benjamin caught my arm as others filed out. Why? He asked simply. Because you were right about one thing. I am better at this job than you. But you're better at it than you think. We just needed to stop competing and start collaborating. I don't deserve this chance. Probably not, I smiled. Consider it payback for that vase. Dad approached us, his expression softening for the first time. Your mother would be proud. Well, proud and horrified, but mostly proud. Dad, Benjamin started. Save it for dinner, Dad cut him off. Your mother's cooking tonight. She expects both of you there. No excuses. As he left, Weston appeared with Jasmine, who'd been waiting outside. So? Jasmine bounced excitedly. How did it go? We're about to find out, I nodded toward Virginia, who was walking over. One question, Virginia said, looking between me and Benjamin. Can you two actually work together without killing each other? Benjamin glanced at me. We managed not to for the first 20 years of our lives. Most of them, anyway, I added. Virginia smiled. Good, because you're both going to be very busy. The press conference is in 1 hour. As she walked away, Benjamin turned to me. Press conference. Part of the transparency initiative, I grinned. Hope you're ready to face the cameras, brother. Together? He asked, extending his hand. I took it. Together. Camera flashes exploded as Benjamin and I walked onto the small stage in the company's press room. Virginia stood at the podium, commanding the attention of dozens of reporters. Before we begin, Virginia announced, I want to introduce our new leadership team for the Sustainability Division. Leah and Benjamin will be co-directing our renewed environmental initiatives. A reporter shot up his hand. Is it true the previous sustainability reports contained fraudulent data? Benjamin stepped forward before I could speak. Yes, he said firmly. And as the former department head, I take full responsibility for those misrepresentations. The room erupted. Cameras clicked frantically. What we're announcing today, I cut in, is not just an admission of past mistakes, but a revolutionary new approach to corporate environmental responsibility. And we're supposed to trust the same leadership that covered up the problems? Another reporter challenged. No, I replied. You're supposed to verify everything we do from now on. That's why we're implementing total transparency protocols, including live data tracking accessible to the public. Weston, manning the presentation screen behind us, pulled up the new dashboard. Real-time sustainability metrics flickered across the display. Starting today, Benjamin added, every aspect of our environmental impact will be monitored and reported in real time. No more quarterly reports that can be manipulated, no more hidden data. A familiar face stood up, a journalist I recognized from my research. Sources say there was internal conflict between you two. How can you lead together given your history? I glanced at Benjamin, who nodded slightly. My brother and I learned the hard way that competition without integrity destroys more than it builds, I said. Our new approach is built on collaboration, not conflict. And accountability, Benjamin stepped closer to the podium. 3 months ago, I sabotaged my sister's job interview out of professional jealousy. Today, she's showing all of us, a better way forward. The admission sent another wave of murmurs through the crowd. Dad, standing at the back of the room, gave us a subtle thumbs up. Virginia returned to the podium. We're announcing a complete restructuring of our environmental programs, including a $500 million investment in new green technologies. The questions flew fast after that. Benjamin and I tag-teamed the responses, each playing to our strengths. He handled the technical details, I managed the strategic vision. Together, we painted a picture of transformation that had the reporters leaning forward in their seats. Suddenly, Joseph from HR burst into the room, whispering urgently to Virginia. She frowned, then gestured for us to wrap up. What's wrong? I whispered as we left the stage. Stock price is fluctuating wildly, Virginia explained, leading us to her office. The market's not sure whether to panic about the fraud admission or celebrate the new initiative. Inside her office, Weston was already pulling up financial data. The numbers bounced between red and green. We need to stabilize this, Benjamin said, loosening his tie, before the shareholders panic. Already on it. I pulled out my phone, dialing Jasmine. Remember that social media strategy we discussed? Launch it, now. Within minutes, our new transparency dashboard was trending online. Real investors were praising our honesty. Environmental groups were cautiously optimistic. The stock began to stabilize. Impressive teamwork, Virginia smiled. But the real test starts tomorrow. The board wants daily progress reports. They'll have them, Benjamin promised. No more secrets. As the crisis subsided, Dad appeared in the doorway. Your mother's waiting. Family dinner, remember? The drive home was quiet until Benjamin spoke. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to reveal some master plan to destroy me completely. That was never my goal, I replied. I just wanted to prove I belonged here. You more than proved that. He smiled sadly. I'm sorry it took all this for me to see it. Mom was waiting on the porch when we pulled up. Her eyes were red from crying, but she opened her arms to both of us. My brilliant, stupid children, she hugged us tight. Come eat before the lasagna gets cold. Inside, over Mom's legendary cooking, we began the harder work of rebuilding our family. The conversation was awkward at first, then gradually warmed as old stories and shared memories broke down the walls we'd built. A toast, Dad raised his glass, to second chances, and third and fourth, Mom added, making us laugh. My phone buzzed, a message from Virginia. Stock closed up 3%. Well done, both of you. Ready for tomorrow? I looked at Benjamin, who was helping Mom clear the dishes, chatting animatedly about the new solar panel technology we'd be implementing. "We're ready," I texted back. Then, after a moment's thought, added, "All of us," because sometimes, I realized, the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemy. It's about transforming them into an ally. The autumn breeze rustled through the rooftop garden as I inspected the new solar panels. Our sustainability showcase had become my favorite spot in the building, a living testament to the changes we'd implemented. "There you are," Jasmine called, stepping out of the elevator. "The documentary crew is waiting downstairs. Tell them I need 5 minutes. You said that 20 minutes ago." She joined me at the railing. "Nervous about the interview?" "Not nervous, just..." I gestured at the garden, taking it all in. The door opened again, and Benjamin appeared. "The crew's getting restless. Also, Virginia wants us to review the quarterly numbers before the interview." I pulled out my tablet, showing him the latest data. "Already done. We're up 40% across all environmental metrics. Look at you two," Jasmine grinned, "actually working together without trying to commit corporate homicide." "The day is still young," Benjamin joked, but his smile was genuine. My phone buzzed, a text from Mum. "Good luck today. Dad and I are recording the interview." "Love you both." "We should head down," Benjamin said, checking his watch. "Ready to tell our story?" I took one last look at the garden. "Almost. There's something I need to say first." He raised an eyebrow. "Sounds ominous. I found this in my desk yesterday." I pulled out a crumpled paper, his original complaint about my job interview. "The one that started everything." His face fell. "Leah, I'm framing it." "What?" "It's going on my office wall," I explained, "to remind me that sometimes our worst moments can lead to our best opportunities." Benjamin was quiet for a moment. "I have something for you too." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "My official promotion recommendation. You're being considered for COO." I stared at the envelope. "But that was your goal. You've been working toward that position for years. And you're better suited for it," he said simply. "I've learned to recognize that now." Jasmine cleared her throat. "As touching as this is, we really need to..." "One more minute," I promised, turning back to Benjamin. "Remember what you said at that first press conference, about competition without integrity?" He nodded. "Well, I'm not taking the COO position unless we're both up for consideration. Fair competition this time." "You'd risk losing it." "I'd risk winning it the right way." I held out my hand. "Partners?" He clasped it firmly. "Partners." The documentary interview went smoothly. We sat side by side, telling our story. The sabotage, the revenge, the redemption. The interviewer seemed particularly interested in our current dynamic. "So you've completely forgiven each other?" she asked skeptically. "Forgiveness isn't a destination," I replied. "It's a daily choice. Like sustainability, it takes constant work and commitment." "And trust," Benjamin added, "which has to be earned back one day at a time." After the crew packed up, Virginia called us into her office. Weston was already there, grinning. "The board just approved your joint proposal," Virginia announced. "The international expansion of our sustainability program is green-lit." "Both of us?" Benjamin asked. "Both of you," she confirmed. "They were impressed by how you've turned rivalry into partnership. Speaking of which..." She slid 2 folders across her desk. "These are your COO candidacy papers. The board wants to consider you both." I caught Benjamin's eye and smiled. "Looks like we get our fair competition after all." "About that," Weston interrupted, "the board had an interesting idea. They're considering splitting the COO role. One focusing on operations, one on innovation. They can do that?" I asked. Virginia nodded. "They can when they have 2 exceptional candidates who work better together than apart." Later, as Benjamin and I rode the elevator down, he turned to me. "You know, when you first came back for revenge, I thought you were going to destroy everything I'd built." "I did too," I admitted. "Funny how things work out." Mum's planning a celebration dinner, he said. Says she's inviting the whole family, including Aunt Susan, the one who always asks when we're getting married. Especially her. He grinned. Consider it karma for all the times I threw you under the bus at family gatherings. The elevator doors opened to the lobby, where Jasmine and Weston were waiting. Ready for dinner? Jasmine asked. I looked at my brother, my rival turned partner, and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with revenge or victory. Actually, I said, we're ready for whatever comes next, because sometimes the best endings aren't about winning or losing. They're about finding a better way forward, together.